In 1949, the Central Intelligence Agency, this was declassified 14 years ago, put Mao Zedong in power. He then killed 80+ million of his own people. And the globalists, from David Rockefeller to Brzezinski Brzezinski, have all written books admitting their master plan to use Chinese slave labor and Chinese ingenuity to take over the planet. They would use laws domestically in the West to shut us down while moving all industry and all rare earth minerals and basically all deep water port operations to the Chinese. They would then double cross the West and do a counterstrike on Russia with nuclear weapons. And that, too, has been declassified. Now, they could always double-cross the Chinese. But the elites have made their bed with China. Now, I was going to walk in here today because I really meditated on it, focused on it for hours this morning. And I was going to announce that Hillary Clinton is a communist Chinese spy and that the communist Chinese are clearly the #1 manipulators of our domestic operations, allied with Saudi Arabia and others. And the evidence is all there. Now, I've been told that by current and former high-level Pentagon people. I've been told that by former and current spy chiefs. But I don't need to listen to them. I know. I see the propaganda on TV and in movies and in print, where there's almost no criticism of China and execution mills and mobile execution vans and people being forced to work 18 hours a day and the most inhuman activities in the world, and Christians and Buddhists being grabbed and their organs being sold beyond any horror movie you can imagine. Every science fiction movie I go see, or every adventure movie I see, the Chinese are the innovators. They run NASA. We're all idiots. The Politburo loves us. Red flags are flying. This is like what old men are telling Hollywood to do. It's so ham-fisted. It's so crazy. I don't need to open the newspaper up to tell you China is taking over Hollywood. And if you think Hollywood drooling and hating Christians and gun owners and veterans was bad, that's why they just merged perfectly with the inhuman communist Chinese. Then I go to drudgereport.com after I'd already decided to do this today. And guess what I see? Right there in the middle. The Hollywood Reporter. This is Hollywood telling you this. Meet Hollywood's new ruler, China's richest man, which is tied into the very families and groups that made the deal in 1949 with the communists and the CIA. And they're leveraging everything they've got to buy all 6 Hollywood studios. And the Hollywood studios have been like hookers on a street corner, shaking their asses, sticking their legs out, promising they give the best time. I mean, I have been watching Hollywood in a total worship fest for communist China. The most bloodthirsty, murderous operation the globe has ever seen. Now, I'm driving home last night, and Rob Dew calls me, and he says, have you seen the new Pachinik video? Pachinik hasn't shown his face in 20-something years. Co-author of Clancy's books. He wasn't just in the State Department. I'll stop right there. One of the founders of Delta Force, involved in overthrowing 8 countries. Stuff he talks about here on air, you know, days later, the FBI routinely shows up at his house. This is not a game. Pachinik had called me last week and said, get ready. You know, we're launching a counter operation. And I'm like, well, I know people are doing that. Okay, great. You know, come on as soon as you can. Nico had him set up, I think, tomorrow. He's coming on in 30 minutes. And Pachinik, his bottom line, said, yeah, absolutely. That's what's known, is that it's not just influence of the Chinese. They're making a move with Hillary on the U.S. That's why the intelligence agencies are having to move on her. Not that they're even perfect, but they know, as General Flynn has advised Trump, this is the end of America. If you don't elect Trump and if we don't stop Hillary, we're going into full resistance mode. We have been taken over, okay? 5 days. 5 days out, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us. Hard to believe, ladies and gentlemen, that we are only 5 days out. It is simply incredible. Wednesday, November 2nd, 2016. I'm your host, Alex Jones. We're going to be here for the next 4 hours. We are going to break and document and confirm the most important news in modern history in the United States. Historical actions have already taken place, and more are about to take place, of the highest import, of the highest importance. Obviously, we have a new Project Veritas video. It's up on Infowars.com. It got so much traffic, it crashed their website. And it's a top Democrat saying that black people have something wrong with them and are stupid if they're supporting Trump. And then he uses the most perfect analogy, using the German name for Jews that helped round up other Jews and kill them, and says that black people that support Trump are like that. And it's just funny because this guy's Jewish saying this, and the liberals in this country follow one of the top Nazi collaborators of World War II, incredibly prolific, helping sniff out and round up Jews, George Soros. And then Madeleine Albright, her dad, probably rivaled the exploits of the young George Soros. It's just, when you know history, it's so rich. Like when Hillary accuses Trump of Russian ties with no evidence, but they've opened up FBI investigations now. Closed one on Trump, opened one on Manafort. Zero evidence, former campaign head. And it's exactly what Hillary's up to. And those emails have now come out with Podesta hiding the money he was getting from Russia, and Hillary, getting huge amounts of money in her foundation for uranium and cobalt. So you can build dirty bombs, not just hydrogen bombs, but jacket them with cobalt so that the half-life is basically forever, and it's extremely radioactive. So a radiation bomb is what they are. A 40-megaton warhead jacketed in cobalt properly creates millions of times the radiation. Look it up. Millions of times. And that's what our loving government and the Russians have been developing for 40 years. Cobalt-jacketed H-bombs. They're called doomsday bombs because they make the surface of the earth unlivable for basically ever, because millions of years is forever for our species. So there you have it. That's the type of stuff we have here in front of us today. But I'm going to get to our number one gigantic mega story that's bigger than anything we've ever covered. And it's because it's hiding in plain view. We've known this for a long time, but now there's a mass awakening in our police and in our military and in the intelligence agencies. And it ties into the front of the Hollywood Reporter today. Wanda chairman reveals ambitious plan to invest billions in all 6 Hollywood studios. That means take them over. Wang Zhanlin, China's, quote, richest man, wants to take over the big 6 studios they already have to a great extent. And that ties into what I was already going to cover today. I have interviewed on and off air generals, spy chiefs, former spy chiefs, you name it. And the consensus is, and the evidence is overwhelming even in mainstream news, that Hillary Rodham Clinton is the #1 communist Chinese agent in the world, and the WikiLeaks all show that, and she's in direct contact with the president of China doing his bidding. To the point of she was representing him to other governments as well. She's a globalist, top-level operative like Kissinger, and I'm going to explain this very simply. It's mainline history taught by the Council on Foreign Relations, not taught to the general public, but taught to executives. Available if you want to know. A deal was made in the 70s to move all of our industry to China, give them all the deep water ports, all the main infrastructure, the Panama Canal, the rare earth minerals, leverage out global competition, end competition, consolidate control through a rigged economy by putting regulations on the West but not on China, dominate, and then dictate the terms of economic surrender to the planet. And that's why it's come out that her aide reportedly gave classified information to China. It's all high treason, ladies and gentlemen. That's why she wears 1960s Maoist-era outfits, silk outfits from China. It's a total message that I'm your bitch to China. We have been blown wide open. Now, Steve Pachinik's obviously told me a lot of stuff off air he hasn't told the public. I'm going to really push him today to just do it. And I don't just get my information from Steve Pachinik. This came out in the 80s, in the 90s. It came out in the news, the missile secrets, the reentry devices, the MERV technology, the multiple reentry device systems, all of it, the booster systems, the whole thing. That's cruise missiles, nuclear reactors. Our government gave China everything after 1949. Everything. Everything. They're fighters, they're helicopters. It's all copies. Now, we have been maneuvered into this treason. And so, of course, Trump comes out and says, oh, yeah, Wang Zhonglin thinks he's going to get us by the short hairs. Trump is going to grab China's Wang. You better know that. I don't mean that as a joke. They know it. He's an American. He doesn't like seeing us get a raw deal. He's coming. And Trump represents America returning. He isn't perfect, but he's America. I'm America. You're America. No matter what color you are, if you believe in this country and free market and freedom, all we hear about is the crimes of America on the media all day that are nothing compared to China, and constant pissing on the Republic to make us feel bad, while nothing is said about China and mobile execution vans and robots replacing people and Christians and everybody having their organs harvested. Good God. And the left gets all the deals for the Apple factories and the suicide nets and the worst labor. But they're all liberal here going, oh, I've got a long beard and I wear a pink shirt. I'm liberal. It's all camo for hardcore predators that are taking this country down. Apple, Al Gore, all of them are literally in bed with China. Maurice Strong, David Rockefeller, when Mao died, wrote sad articles in the New York Times about how great communism was under him and the model for America. And it's these guys worth hundreds of billions of dollars like Wang Zhonglin saying they're in a communist country with a bunch of slaves under them. That's what communism is. When Obama says you can't have a car, you can't have air conditioning, and he's in a jumbo jet. China is the global model for world government. The last 4 Chinese presidents say that constantly in the news. China and its model of communism is the ultimate expression of capitalism in the global governance model and is being adopted on a planetary scale. These are quotes. Americans must be taught that they cannot have their firearms. Americans must be brought into line with the global community and China's model. These are quotes. Let's skip the break. Most important information we ever covered. Now, we know this, but, I mean, there are articles out today where we're being dictated that you cannot act masculine or show your arms in college now if you have big muscles because it's hurtful to women. They're emasculating the country, folks, saying men can't show muscles. Or you can't have pictures of men for the sports team. It's hurtful. This is total cult brainwashing. This isn't out-of-control liberals. This is scientific destruction of the family and turning us all against each other. And now the communist Chinese are working with Zuckerberg to censor the internet and taking Hollywood over, allied with the Saudi Arabians. This has been going on for a decade. All the ignorant people make little jokes. Oh, really? China and Saudi Arabia run Hollywood. Oh, you're covering up for the Jews. All the stupid anti-Semites out there. The point is that Hollywood's being taken over, ladies and gentlemen. It's a fact. And the propaganda is worse than ever. And if you thought Hollywood was anti-family, anti-America before, get ready. I'm sorry I'm a trailblazer. I'm sorry I know what I'm talking about. But we're giving you the facts here. Now, Trump keeps saying this is America's last chance unless we go to the Second Amendment. We are in Mayday emergency. We are on fire. We are down. We have been overrun. Our borders are wide open. They're sowing distrust. They're trying to start race riots. They're trying to get the police killed. More got killed today. They are ramping up the civil unrest with a crazy Nazi collaborator on an oxygen tank still running the country, basically, who's totally allied with China. And what does China and George Soros have in common? They've got screaming you-know-whats for this country. They want to mount our heads, man. Like a trophy hunter wants a mount of the biggest bull elephant. They want to mount George Washington's head on the damn wall. And I will not sit here and watch what our forebears did and what your fathers and mothers and everybody did and what we've done to watch this country taken over and shut down. Now, we keep saying, where's the military? Where's the police? Where's the FBI? Where are all these agencies? I'll tell you where they are. They're waiting for you. They've put out the WikiLeaks. By the way, it was in 2009 the Inspector General sent letters that have just now been released in the last month. Paul Watson's an article on this saying investigate the State Department and the way Hillary's handling information. They were telling you then it was happening. The National Archives as well. Then more came out. In 2012, 2013, investigations were begun. The FBI whitewashed it all. Julian Assange was given the intel by people inside the intelligence community. I'm going to stop right there. So they start the narrative, it's the Russians. The Russians have hacked stuff before. They admit it when they do. It's stuff that affects them. It's international. They are really good about not getting involved in actual statecraft and telling the U.S. not to with them. They only got into UN because that treaty affected them for carbon taxes and other things like that. They're constantly hacking the UN. They're constantly hacking U.S. diplomats when they're doing international stuff. Internal stuff, Russia's been leaving it alone. It's China, while it works with the globalists, bombarding the United States because the globalists are letting China do it to penetrate things on purpose. China reportedly has something like 200 times a day more cyber attacks going on to the U.S. than Russia does. Russia basically isn't cyber attacking anything, and they admit that. There's organized crime over there that does credit card theft and stuff like that, and Russia certainly got its problems. But the issue here is, ladies and gentlemen, China is hammering the hell, probing everything, super belligerent, super arrogant, has penetrated everything, tells the president get off the back of the plane, total big insult in Asia, to rub his face in the manure, scream at the diplomats on the tarmac saying, this is our country, you go if you don't like it. Because they have no respect for us, because they've penetrated us, and they've bought us, and they've controlled us. And ladies and gentlemen, when you see fake liberal media, these are the most pathetic, sad people in the world. You are seeing teleprompter readers who have been hired because they're empty nobodies who will say any lie or do anything. No wonder the big newspapers are collapsing, they've announced today. Revenue down 95% in quarterly profit. They're in free fall, total free fall. Because people now know this isn't just liberal idiots. These are enemy operatives. Do you understand? These are the most disgraceful, dishonored, actual officers of a take. They are literal collaborators in the cloth of the Vichy French. The French stood down in World War II, the Maginot Line and all that crap in Dunkirk. Only the British fought a little. The British military didn't fully stand down, but the French did because the general staff was already sold by Hitler. They took over France the next day. Hitler, 2 weeks later, was in Paris. The French were told by the media, stand down and do what Hitler said. You understand that? That's the same deal. It's a covert operation. And they are all arrogant up there. And so there's been a counter coup. We've told you about this for the last year. And now we've had William Binney come out. We've had the former British top ambassador come out and said that he was at a meeting with the U.S. government just a few weeks ago, and we have the clip coming up, and they said no, and he was told who did it, actually. Here's the deal. They know who did it. They don't want to go bust them because they can show it's espionage against our country and that they were doing this as patriots, and then they can't blame the Russians. They don't want to go grab the people. And let me tell you what's very close to happening. There's very close to a press conference being held with members of the FBI, NSA, CIA, Defense Intelligence, you name it, with people like General Flynn there, who was the head of Defense Intelligence 2 years ago when they kicked him out of there because he wouldn't work for al-Qaeda. You understand what you're hearing right now? They're very close to a press conference and just coming out and saying, this is who did it, blah, 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 did it for America. These people are traitors. They're communist Chinese agents. They're Saudi agents. Here's even more. Boom, you're going down. And all of you that work for this are the scum of the earth and weak-minded filth. Now let's go ahead and play Dr. Steve Pachenik, never shown his face in 25 years. Breaking down, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time ever, what's really happened with the soft coup, and it is going. And we haven't completely won because Hillary's launched a coup. They're effectively in control of the U.S. right now. America is battling for its life right now. You understand that? Here it is.
On November 1, 2016, Hillary and Bill Clinton and their entourage of assistants effected a civilian coup. In contrast to the usual concept of a coup where the military is involved and takes over the White House and communication centers, very much like the scenarios you see in a movie, This coup was done silently and very effectively through two methods: corruption and co-optation. The Clintons have been involved in co-opting our White House, our judiciary, our CIA, our Federal Bureau of Investigation, our Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, and our Director of the FBI, James Comey, for some time now. What they've done is to make sure that they were part and parcel of a group of people who were interrelated through political cronyism. However, in order to stop this coup, we in the intelligence community and others involved have informally gotten together, and with their permission, I am beginning to announce that we've initiated a counter coup through Julian Assange and WikiLeaks. What has happened in effect when Comey had to open up the case of Hillary Clinton and discuss the emails that were involved with the Anthony Weiner case, it was not the case itself that was as important as the fact that this was the entree for many of us in the counter coup to say to the administration, we have your number. Not only do we have your number, we're going to stop you from making Hillary the president of the United States. And at the same time, we will convict and indict the president of the United States, Loretta Lynch, and many others who were involved in the cover-up of the massive corruption that occurred under the Clinton Foundation. Now, in both cases, their coup was silent, and our counter-coup was silent, and it was all transgressed or occurred on the internet. And this is probably the first time in the history of any country where a coup was initiated through the internet and a counter coup was initiated through the internet. I am just a small part of something far bigger than myself. It was the brave men and women who were in the FBI, the CIA, the Director of Intelligence, the military intelligence, and men and women in 15 other intelligence organizations who were sick and tired of seeing this corruption in the White House, in the Justice Department, and in the intelligence system. And we decided that there was something we had to do in order to save the Republic. So we initiated a counter coup through Julian Assange, who's been very brave and really quite formidable in his ability to come forth and provide all the necessary emails that we gave to him in order to undermine Hillary and Bill Clinton. Again, America, we're going through a major, major transition and, quite frankly, a second American Revolution. We do not have guns. We do not have weapons. We do not intend to kill anybody. We do not intend to harm anybody. But we, the American public, and those of us who serve as veterans and in the intelligence service like myself, will stop the Clintons from assuming power that they don't deserve. At the same time, we will make certain that Obama leaves without any trail of a pardon or any other act of treason.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's Dr. Steve Pieczenik. The full video is at stevepieczenik.com, Infowars.com. It's got millions of views right now with the different versions that he's posted, that we've posted. He's going to join us via video Skype for the first time ever. He hadn't been seen again in public in 25 years. We'll be back. We're only 5 days out from probably the most historic election since the founding of our country in 1776. We're going to go into Dr. Steve Pieczenik here in just a moment. First time ever video Skype. Amazing, huge developments that I can confirm to you are going on at the highest levels of the Pentagon, 15 intelligence agencies, you name it. We have the British ambassador coming out confirming that he's been at the meetings. This is the U.S. government releasing this stuff on Hillary. They've been all through Trump stuff. The FBI admits no connection to Russia. The average FBI agent knows what's happening, wants to save this country. China, to a great extent, is walking all over us. The Philippines, I mean, we are a joke because we've been so penetrated. They announced today that Communist China intends to take over all 6 Hollywood studios. I've already seen the incredible pro-communist Chinese propaganda in almost every movie I go see now. It's getting crazy. And it's so ham-fisted is why it was obvious, but now it's admitted. So that's coming up. We're going to be talking to Dr. Steve Pieczenik with the biggest news ever about the Hillary globalist coup and now the counter coup to that that's taken place in the viral video he put out yesterday. Now, before we go any further, I feel bad even doing this, but we have to fund this operation. We're a free market system, and I've not been plugging a lot lately, and we're losing money. We need to fund the operation. We're launching a new product that has been several years in development. The #1 seller out there is hair, nails, and skin. And this is the very best formula out there. Similar formulas cost like $100. This cost a fraction of that. It is Bio-PCA hair and nail formula. Again, contains 10,000 mcg of biotin per serving with collagen and folate and more. You definitely want to check this out. Just 2 vegetable capsules a day. It's 60 vegetarian capsules, a dietary supplement. We're really proud of this, and it'll help fund our operation while getting people things they absolutely need. And obviously, if it helps your skin and nails and hair, it helps a lot more. InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. Again, that's 888-253-3139. And we're going to extend it for 42 hours because we were able to call My Patriot Supply and get them to extend another 42 by some serious arm twisting. I mean, I love them to death, but I just said I don't want to have to go out and get other folks who won't let me do this. 30 to 40% off all the storable food for another 42 hours, and then it is over. Take advantage of that. High quality, last 25 years. InfoWarsStore.com is the umbrella site. InfoWarsLife.com is the nutraceutical supplement area, and it funds this operation, and we need your support because I've been so on target and sending our crew all over the country, and quite frankly, not even doing advertising and plugs, as you hear half the time, that it's important more than ever that I do plug and the people support us. I want to thank you all for your support. InfoWarsStore.com, InfoWarsLife.com, or 888-253-3139. Okay. Now, there is a multinational coup going on over this country. They've used corruption to do it. It's even mainstream news. We're going under foreign corporate global governance. The communist Chinese are at the heart of it. The Saudis are involved. Others are involved. And we are having everything dictated to us like we were China 200 years ago that was a colony of the West and broken into 12 parts. America is losing its sovereignty. We are being bankrupted by design. And the globalists admit this is their philosophy so they can dictate the terms of the United States' basic surrender to this hegemonic system. And the problem is the system that we're going into is so authoritarian. I mean, we don't hear any criticism of China for human rights abuses, any of it now, selling political dissidents organs, Christians and Buddhist organs. That's just an example of what I'm talking about and how the Philippines says America's over, you're done, China runs everything now, get out of our country. He knows Hillary's penetrated. Hillary in the WikiLeaks has represented the Chinese president just 2 years ago. Total treason. You can just Google it. It comes up that she represents the Chinese. She represents anybody. She's like a street-walking whore. And it is so bold and insane that we've let this get to this point. So Dr. Steve Pieczenik at stevepieczenik.com put out a video yesterday breaking down the fact that Hillary and her cohorts have done a coup on America. Look at the FBI. I mean, she's above the law. And so that people in the military, the different intelligence agencies that we know have been giving WikiLeaks their info, the British ambassadors come out. William Binney has said on air and off air, I mean, he's gone further than we did 6 months ago. He says it is U.S. intelligence doing this, and they're ready for the government to try to come after them and others and ready to basically do press conferences saying, oh, okay, you know, here are the people that released it because this is treason. Go ahead and try to prosecute us. They were hoping that the FBI would do the right thing and would keep Hillary out, but they're ready, folks. So Hillary, one way or another, is in deep trouble. And Dr. Steve Pieczenik, again, one of the founders of Delta Force, head of psychological warfare in the State Department, ran, admittedly, this is in the BBC, you name it, has run the overthrow of at least 6 governments. He's the real deal in covert action. He's a psychiatrist, but also has a degree from MIT. Most of you know who he is, but he's never been seen in 25 years. Co-wrote books with Tom Clancy. He's the character Jack Ryan's based on. Hadn't been seen in 25 years. This is a guy that sends me photos when he's inside North Korea, when he's on vacation. Wink, wink. I mean, he's the real deal. Everybody knows that. And you've seen the things he's talked about over the years come true. And so he's dialed in, folks, and we're dialed in as well. We've checked the things he said with high-level folks. And notice General Flynn is advising Trump. He's one of the leaders of the resistance, okay? So all of this is happening. This is history happening. I'm going to try to shut up now and give him the floor until the end of the hour. Dr. Steve Pieczenik, please roll through what we're facing, the stages we're at right now, 5 days out from the election with their takeover group versus the ghost of George Washington, I'd call it, fighting for this country's life.
Well, as I've said before on your show and other places, we had a civil coup that was initiated by Hillary and her cohorts based on corruption and political cronyism. We had a counter coup, which was initiated several days ago by some of the people in 16 different organizations, as you mentioned. However, there's been more and more information coming out, and now we are concerned that two people are specifically targeted by our intelligence system. One is Huma Abedin. The issue of Huma Abedin and her connections to Saudi Arabia and the Salafists, and particularly with those Salafists or Imam who funded Al-Qaeda and subsequently, presumably, Osama bin Laden, she is a very concerned target for us. And the reason for that is, the question is, she was born here in the United States, left after 2 years, and went back to Saudi Arabia. The family's prominent, wealthy. They know, you guys know the story. The real key issue is, how did she come back in 1996, get to the top of the ladder, the political ladder, and become an assistant to Hillary Clinton, when in fact her connections, including her mother, her brother, and others, are very much tied in with the Wahhabis, Saudi Arabia, and the government? The answer from my perspective, and possibly from those who I work with, is that she's very much of an agent of influence and both an operative and infiltrator on behalf of the Saudi Arabia. Now,
and that's why she had the 650,000 emails reportedly under the name insurance on Hillary gathering data.
That's part of it. But what Alex, what I really want to talk about is the fact she's been here for a long time. And the question is, who gave her the top secret clearance that she had received after having been here only 2 years after 1996? So the question goes back to who, in fact, in our three-letter agency worked in Saudi Arabia. There's only one agency. It's either Catholics in Action or the CIA, John Brennan, who has been very close to the Saudi Arabians, and also the Israelis. Now, why do I talk about both these issues? The ultimate distraction in this whole storyline with Huma Abedin and Anthony Weiner has been, to me, somewhat of a farce. It's been either contrived or combination of, ongoing problems, but a highly contrived scenario, which distracts from the fact that Huma Abedin is very much of a Saudi agent. However, she married a Jew, a pathetic Jew, but nevertheless, that neutralized the notion that she was a total Saudi influence. At the same time, there's a man by the name who we're targeting named Peter Kadcic, Kadcick. That's news. He works with a law firm in Washington, D.C. called Dickstein Shapiro. I know Dickstein Shapiro. I know their senior partner, Barry Levin. They're not very good lawyers, but they're extremely good at lobbying. 10, 15 years ago, they would charge me something like $600 per hour. So, they're not the smartest lawyers, but they could be the most corrupt lawyers in the business. Peter Kadcic was brought into the Justice Department as a result of being Podesta's lawyer, and Peter Kadcic got Podesta off of criminal charges. Podesta, who's as stupid as the day is long, made a comment saying, "This is my kind of lawyer. He makes sure that I never go to prison." So what we have is a Jewish law firm, Dickstein Shapiro, with a Jewish representative, Peter Kadcic, who is in turn going to evaluate and investigate a corruption trial with Huma Abedin. That's a complete farce. And the farce continues because the corruption that's going on between Hillary Clinton and Obama is so serious that when I said weeks ago that we had a civilian coup and that we in the intelligence community informally initiated a counter coup, that's a major, major statement. Now,
sure, when you talk about history, and I've confirmed with a lot of high-level folks, people are now ready to pretty much do anything to save the country because every other way and avenue to fix things has been basically shut down. So now let's get to the historical point we are, just for lay folks out there, Dr. Pachenik, about why this has been activated, what you think is now going to unfold in the next 5 days, where we're going. I mean, explain to folks, talk to us like we're not, former spy chiefs.
What's been activated is really an American revolution through the words of Donald Trump. He may or may not know the specifics, but that's not as important as the fact that he brought out the temperance and the anger that the American public feels, including what you said was...
Well, sure, he's being advised by people that I know full well are part of the counter operation. So that's why I know
Michael Flynn, I have the highest respect. I can't say anything more. He was the director of intelligence in the Defense Intelligence Agency. So there are those in the Defense Intelligence Agency with whom I have worked and still continue to work. So we're at a key point. What the intelligence community is saying is that there are several charges that want to be dealt with regard to Hillary Clinton. They want her to be indicted for bribery, corruption, obstruction of justice, lying under oath, and most importantly, it's a RICO charge. That's what we use against the Gambino family and the crime families. And the reason we want to initiate that, and there will be a prosecutor to come forth to prosecute her, whether she gets into the White House or not, is because she has been involved in massive corruption with massive collusion. Now, you're getting other people involved as well. So you're talking about Obama, you're talking about Loretta Lynch, you're talking about a Peter Katchek, you're talking about a whole line of people, including the Podesta brothers, who have been involved in this collusion of corruption.
Yeah, with Russia.
Where do we go from here? We have 5 to 6 days to go. If she is elected, there will be an initiative to impeach her as the president of the United States. Our suspicion is that Obama will not pardon her. The reason for that is Obama's too smart. He too came in through the intelligence system, as I said before, particularly the CIA. He worked for Peter Geithner. He worked for the Asian Society. He is a front for many of these groups. Contrary to what he said, the story is total nonsense. He was not a initiator of civil action on the local level. He was very much a product of the CIA. But you've got to remember 2 things. Saudi Arabia has had a major influence in our government since the Clintons, the Bush seniors, the Bush juniors, and now Hillary. They wanted to make sure that they had somebody very close to the hand of power. And in this case, they initiated her and penetrated Huma Abedin very early on in 96. And I've got to say, as a counterintelligence agent, they did a very good job. Because no one in the press, not one person in the intelligence community, other than the people I've dealt with, have really spotted this. Secondly, there's an issue of diversity that people are concerned about, particularly Obama. Well, we have diversity because Israel has also penetrated our intelligence, as you've seen with Michael Chertoff and the other people involved in 9/11. So this is a continuation of the corruption and collusion that our government in Washington, D.C., has committed against the American people.
Sure. So let's boil it down then, Dr. Pachenik. I mean, you put out powerful videos. You've gone public. You haven't been seen on video in 2 decades. You got out of the Council on Foreign Relations 15 years ago and rebuked them for 9/11. You've been exposing it all. You've been dead on about the de-evolution back to the States, the Brexit, Catalonia, predicted it here 5 years ago before it even happened. So you're talking to folks inside the government. You're talking to all your contacts, different agencies you were with. I know at the State Department you were basically with them all. And now clearly people understand we have to act. And the intel I've gotten is we have to act because Hillary knows time is not on her side. They're going to move to sew up the country, shut down internet freedom, and try to basically shut us down. So that's why we've got to go into high gear, because they realize long term we have the momentum. They want to shut down the peaceful process we've been using to counter them because they know we're winning. They want to push it into a destabilization program activated with Soros and others, the Black Lives Matter. And so this is a critical juncture right now. As you said, history is happening right now, a major moment in history, probably one of the most important in our history. What can the public do, to make sure this criminal is brought to justice?
Well, they can support Trump with the fact that he said this election is rigged. In other words, when the results come in, they can defy the results and stand up and say, we don't accept the results. And the reason for that is, again, you've talked about, and you had a very intelligent woman talk about the fact that the Diebold machineries and Dominion have really rigged the machineries in such a way that if Hillary is viable, as that lovely lady said, she will win. If that's the case, then the American public have to stand up without violence and say we cannot accept this election result. There will be no way that Hillary can win legally.
That's right. They're
There's
already
just no way.
fractionally shaving. They're already flipping all over. They're already selling the narrative Trump's losing, even in rigged polls, sampling 12% more. ABC and a bunch of others. He is now 6, 8, 9, 10 points ahead.
Well, there's no question that Trump will be in the forefront. There's no question that Trump will not accept the results of the election. I will also say neither will the intelligence community accept the results of the election. The most honorable thing that Hillary could do, and I doubt she will do it, is to resign. Probably the only person I can appeal to within that family, whom I do know, and I think I regard her quite high, is Chelsea. I've known her since she was a teenager. She has had the same concerns about the Clinton Foundation that we've had. She's had major concerns about the corruption, about the fact that the foundation was taken over by the Podestas and banned, or whoever the man was working with Bill Clinton. She's also the one who gave us the tip-off on the fact that 10,000 Haitians were killed because of the Clinton initiatives in Haiti, and she was dismissed. So I can appeal to her on the part of the United States to say to her, tell your mother to stand down. If she does not stand down, this will continue as a revolution, hopefully civil, hopefully without violence.
Well, let me bring this up. I mean, you're one of the foremost psychological warfare guys ever. You got the Camp David Accords passed. I mean, you're credited for running those, the only successful court ever, and then right through the modern times behind the scenes. What would you say about Hillary, who I know you personally know? She seems to have degenerated.
What I can say about Hillary, you don't need a psychiatrist to basically say what I've said all along. It's a woman who has come to the point of such self-destruction that she in turn will bring the whole country into a self-destructive mode. It's a woman who never really could achieve the aspirations that she stated. In other words, she claims she went to Yale, that's true, but unfortunately she's not as bright as she thought she was. She wasn't as accomplished as she maintained she is. Her judgment is terrible. Her ability to assess strategy and tactics is terrible.
By the way, her WikiLeaks, all her colleagues say she's a disaster and a horrible person. That's in all the emails.
Well, I'm going to quote, not only Podesta, but I'm going to quote General Colin Powell, who said, everything she touches, she messes up, and then he adds the word hubris with pride. So you have an arrogant, ineffectual,
loser,
dysfunctional woman who wants to be the president of the United States, has never really initiated anything on her own or accomplished any accomplishment of any significance.
She's a clear and present danger.
She's a total clear and present danger. However, in that sense, I do not want any attempts at assassination. I do not want an overthrow of the government. This is a natural evolution in the world of the internet and the binary numbers. What makes this so interesting is the fact that you, Matt Drudge, Limbo, Sean Hannity, Fox News, Brit Hume, and a whole bunch of others have really pushed the agenda that we've had and understood how to debride all of the nonsense that went on. I want to give special thanks to Lou Dobbs, who on the major networks really kept pushing on and saying, look, you Republicans are a failure. You Democrats are a failure.
And we know the White House and Hillary targeted him and had him removed. So let's stop there in the time we have. This is amazing, Dr. Pachenik. This moment in history. Let's look at who the players are behind her, what she might pull. Clearly, the Communist Chinese are in a very belligerent mode. They say they're buying all 6 Hollywood studios. They've got Philippines running around, hopping up and down, insulting us. Obama has to get off the back of planes. They think she's getting in. They're really, with the Saudis, behind all this from my research. Why would our elites allow this? This is literally insane. Even if we have corrupt elites, this is like letting us be completely decapitated when America's been the whole power of this modern empire.
Let me explain something. I know you think the Chinese are involved in all of this. First of all, I've worked in Hollywood, and I'm a member of the Producers Guild. Hollywood is finished. For the most part, they can buy whatever they want.
No, I know you know that, but you've personally told me that Hillary is a Chinese operative, though.
No, I've never doubted that. What I want to get to is a far more important point about China, and China is listening right now, and they know I know this. If we want to bring down China, it's very easy for us to do it. 500 million Chinese above the Yangtze and Yalu River have absolutely no water. The Chinese are poised against the Indian Army as well as the Pakistani
Kashmir. No, I know
Army.
we can bring them down, but we don't have the elite to do it. That's my problem. I understand.
No. You always keep your gun loaded, but you don't pull the trigger. The Chinese have been warned repeatedly that without water, they cannot.
I agree. So why are they so belligerent right now?
They're not. They're doing what's best for their interest. Right now, everybody claimed the Russians were belligerent. They weren't. The Chinese are really far more interested, and I'm not apologizing for the Chinese. They're far more interested in building a merchant supply system along the lines that the Dutch did around the 15th and 16th system. They're not interested
Dutch East India model. Yeah, I get it.
It's the Dutch Indian model. They are now building railroad train tracks in Djibouti, in Africa, in the Indian Ocean. They're far more interested in picking up the resources.
Sure. So here's the bottom line. I know I'm jumping around, Dr. Pachenik. Major counter coup. How is that coup taking place? Obviously, WikiLeaks, more coming, talk of press conferences if Hillary doesn't do the right thing. I mean, what else can you impart?
The fact that you and I are talking, the fact that Hillary had to mention Alex Jones and the presumed nonsense that came out of our stations, the fact that you have become a very serious threat to the establishment has already been a very major accomplishment of the counter coup. And that's why our intelligence services works through this. And they're not using you. They're simply stating, for the same reason that the Secret Service came through and said, look, Hillary cannot function. She has Parkinson's disease. We've mentioned that.
Sure, none of us are manipulating each other. We just see the same thing happening.
Well, the point is, what you want is a definitive end to this person. That's not going to happen. What's going to happen, because the way we work in America, is that gradually we will take away every political power that she has, including Uma Abedin, Peter Kachik, Podesta, and all those.
So we'll undermine and bring down her minions.
Well, exactly correct. We're warning them now that we will go after them, and they are highly vulnerable. And everyone who's been a part of the Clinton Foundation or received money, we have their names. We have their names. We know the amount of money that they've received, and it's very easy for us to pick it off. For example, this Peter Kachik, he better resign, because we can go after him for collusion. We can go after him for irregular activities as a lawyer. If we want, we can go after Dick Steen Shapiro for many other travesties. They can come back and say whatever they want, but I know Barry Levin. And what I'm saying is, this is a warning to them. This is a warning to everyone there. Now, I do not give a warning. You know as well that what I've said comes around in time. I cannot give you an end point, but I will tell you, come November 8th, Trump will declare the fact either he's won or it's a corrupt election. Once it's a corrupt election, the American public can protest in the streets peacefully and refuse to accept the inauguration of Hillary Clinton. We will not accept that. So there are many months in between November 8th and January before the time she's inaugurated as a president. Hopefully she will resign or she becomes sick. It's not relevant to us. But if Obama thinks he can pardon us, that will not happen. If Biden thinks he can co-opt that will not happen. What will happen again is either we will call for a re-election with another candidate they pick. We will not accept Tim Kaine. He is part of the CIA. He's part of an nonsensical collusion that's occurred. We are also asking that John Brennan resign, because he's been a major source of problems for many, many things since 9/11 and onward. This is an issue that's come up among the 16 different intelligence communities, primarily military.
All right, Steve Pachenik, amazing. And again, Drudge has linked to your video from yesterday. It's going viral, millions of views. We'll be right back in 70 seconds for 5 more minutes. Then Joseph Farah of WorldNet Daily is joining us. Stay with us. Everybody knows I'm not a wishful thinker. If Trump was really behind, I'd tell you. You can see it in the scientific polls, where they're sampling 9, 12, 15, 20 points. He's still winning by 2, 6, 7, 8, 10 points. I mean, it's like a landslide. America is just waking up across the board. All these WikiLeaks are coming out. Dr. Steve Pachenik, again, talking about the soft coup that's happening. You've got a lot of ambassadors, other people concurring with what you're saying. The WikiLeaks came from inside the United States, not from Russia. Other key points in the 5 minutes we have about the counter coup and the warning to Hillary. I am seeing a lot of Democrats in the Chicago Tribune and others on TV exiting from her. We're seeing Obama cancel a lot of events with her. We are seeing some movement that looks like they're starting to understand they bet on the wrong horse.
I think probably the most important part right now that the President Obama could do before he leaves office. And, I respect the fact that he served 8 years and he's done some good. There are other things I have a problem with, is probably to convince Hillary Clinton to step down. I think that would be the most historical and most grandiose plan that he's ever done. I know he's not thinking about it, but I suggest to his advisors, particularly Valerie Jarrett, who's an extremely sophisticated woman from Chicago. I knew about her father, who was a very great hematologist who worked in Iran and worked for our country, that she should talk to him and Michelle Obama and say, look, this is not good for our country. We need a peaceful transition. And perhaps one of the greatest things that Obama could do as the president of the United States, he did two things that were very important. Turned around the economy, and he made us independent of oil from the Middle East. He doesn't need Saudi Arabia. He really doesn't need to deal with Israel as a little spoiled child. The real issue now is that Obama can sit down with Hillary and tell her, look, all bets are off. Whatever I owed you, whatever happened, I gave you the position of Secretary of State. That I happen to know for a fact. I won't quote who told me, but it was a decision that was made, quite frankly, while I was at a dinner table. She was given that position because it was a loss. She lost the race, and she was whining, complaining, so they made her Secretary of State. She did very poorly. Not just because she didn't know what she was doing, but she initiated a lot of problems in Libya. Forget the Benghazi issue, it was worse than that. And then all the issues that came into Syria and Iraq. So what I suggest is that the President of the United States, his entourage at present, Susan Rice, who did come forth, actually, under Bill Clinton and complained and protested, as I did, that Bill Clinton should have prevented the genocide of 1 million Hutu and Tutsis. In the 90s, she was discarded. And I asked Susan Rice and Valerie Jarrett and Michelle Obama to really encourage the President of the United States to allow him to talk to Hillary and say, look, those days are over. The time is over. The American public is very upset.
Exactly, but we know she's going to, like an arrogant creature with the media, still bull her way in, try to steal it. What happens?
I'm not sure of that, and I will tell you why. Axelrod, his advisor, came out with very important insights regarding Hillary. And there has been bad blood between the Clintons and the Obamas.
Oh, I know Obama hates her. I mean, because she's
but the issue now is you're asking me what can be the most peaceful denouement to this situation. And what I'm suggesting, I'm not representing the intelligence community now, is I'm suggesting that Obama is the President of the United States. Either convince her to step down, ask someone else to replace her, not particularly Tim Kaine, he's a political hack who works for Terry McAuliffe, but someone else, and let the race continue, or negate the race and allow Trump to come into the position so we have a peaceful transition of power. The most important thing for our community in both the intelligence, financial, and political community.
All right, Doc, we got to go to break, and I got Farrah coming up. But come back and do 3 more minutes if you can. And speaking for the intelligence community that you've been talking to informally, what their message is to Hillary and Obama and the world when we come back. Only about 3 more minutes. Thank you. We'll be back, and then Joseph Farrah, stay with us. And this old lady that's our country isn't perfect, but it's been the apple of the world's eye because it had more freedom than the other nation. And I want to preserve what made America great. This country is fighting for its life right now, and this election is about nationalism, it's about populism, it's about sovereignty, and it's about rebuking the elites. Dr. Steve Pachinik's gone in 3 minutes. We're going to Joseph Farrah, founder of the Western Journalism Center, WorldNet Daily, the trailblazer in the new media, targeted by the Clintons before they even got in office to shut down a future media they thought would overtake them, and it's now they failed. So before Drudge, there was Joseph Farrah, and so we stand on his shoulders. He joins us now. Of course, he stands right beside us today. WorldNet Daily, bigger than ever. WND.com. We're talking to him in about 3 minutes. Dr. Pachinik, again, I mean, you don't do a lot of other interviews. You've been nice to come on my show for 15 years. It's on record with General Boykin and with Schumacher. You helped found Delta Force, Black Ops, ran psychological warfare, overthrown 8 countries. You're the Jack Ryan character. Co-wrote books with Clancy, Hollywood producer. You've done it all. Psychiatrist, MIT scientist, military officer, all that secret, obviously, in your history. But here you are saying you represent the intelligence community, and I checked with people, generals, colonels, they go, absolutely, Pachenik's on target. And you're saying this is a counter coup with WikiLeaks. Well, we have the British ambassador saying he's met with the folks that did it. They're ready to go public because they know that they did the right thing. It's not the Russians. What is the other messages that the intelligence community, the patriots, and what percentage would you say of the intelligence community is awake of 16 agencies? What's their message then to Hillary and the communist Chinese and the Saudi Arabians that run her like a sock puppet?
The message is very simple. I'm talking now on my behalf, but you understand I work informally with other people. I don't work formally in any way. The message is very simple. It's for her to stand down. She cannot become president of the United States. She's not physically, mentally, or psychologically or financially capable to maintain the presidency of the United States. The 16 units will not work with her. There will be a major, major problem. We still have a civilian counter coup that will work until she leaves the presidency. It's not violent. It's not forceful. We're not going to arrest her. That's not any of those issues. She knows very well her medical history cannot allow her to either lobby for the presidency or maintain any capability to stay in the presidency. If she does not, her targets will be Uber Abedin, Peter Karachek, a whole bunch of Podestas. There will be all kinds of issues that will be brought up. She will be brought up on charges of bribery, interference with investigation, lying to the public, lying to the FBI, and RICO charges. They will be major. Those RICO charges will, in fact, involve many, many people within the Clinton campaign and the Clinton administration. And all the law firms, including Dickstein Shapiro, cannot get her out of that. And actually, Peter Katchik may be part of that RICO charge. I can't speak any more on behalf of what the intelligence community will or will not do, but you have seen so far how effective they have been and how they were able to turn around James Comey. And it was the brave men and women within the FBI, within the other agencies who stepped forward and said they will not accept this.
Do you know which agency leaked the information to Assange? Because this is being... I don't want to identify it. Do I know? Yes. Do I want to identify it? No. And the reason for that has to do with my long-standing relationship. No, I understand. So what about the word, though, if Hillary really wants to push, there's going to be a press conference of a bunch of different agencies.
Well, in terms of what? Their agency?
Well, people just coming out and saying, I released it, I leaked it, I did it.
Okay, well, that's their prerogative, but I do not want to reveal who and
no, I totally understand. I totally understand. Well, let me say this.
That will not happen.
General Flynn gave a speech 2 months ago where he said, this is Lexington and Concord. Our country's been overtaken. This is important as 1776.
Well, I know. I've met Michael Flynn, General Flynn. I admire him amazingly. He's been very effective. I actually went to one of his meetings where he brought in social scientists. He understands the psychological perspective of intelligence. He's been brilliant in terms of targeting. He's brilliant in terms of ability to state exactly what the intelligence community can and cannot do. He's defied all of the people in the policy areas. And he's an unusual man. He should be the Director of National Intelligence, and he probably will become Director of National Intelligence. But Michael Flynn represents only a small part of a much broader group of people who I can tell you come from all backgrounds in the 16 different units.
I understand. This is a historic moment, as you said, one of the biggest in our history.
This is the Second American Revolution. I wrote about it in Maximum Vigilance. I wrote about a coup 20 years ago in Maximum Vigilance against the President of the United States. It was not only a hard coup, it was a soft coup in what we're talking about now. But the American public has to understand this is really a change and a revolution in the internet age. And Alex Jones and Matt Drudge and all the others, Lou Dobbs and Fox, has been a part of this coup because it's occurring on the internet and on the binary numbers in the ether.
And it's not violent. StevePachenik.com. We're having you on for an hour Friday. Thank you for all your time. And thanks for doing
this. It's my pleasure, and God bless your audience, will you? And thank you, Alex.
Amazing. Okay, wow. And again, speaking of the internet revolution, Joseph Farah, there goes Steve Pachenik. Amazing. I was just talking to Farah during the break, my producer was. He wants to get into this very subject and talk about WikiLeaks, the election, how big this is. Hard guy to get on. WND.com, WorldNet Daily. with publishing and films and not just print and the Western Journalism System Center. I can tell you, if it wasn't for Joseph Farah, you wouldn't have what we have today. So we really owe you for that, Joseph. What an epic time to be alive, my friend. What do you make of all this?
Well, talk about coups. That was a pretty big coup getting that previous guest there, Alex. I think that he's kind of the man of the hour right now, putting all this in perspective. And I couldn't agree more with him that, you know, we're in the midst of a coup here and a counter coup. The stakes could not be higher in this election. Literally, I mean, think about it, Alex. Hillary Clinton, if she doesn't win, she's probably going to jail. Okay, so yeah. She's got more motivation.
She's got nothing to lose.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, if Trump loses, you know, he's still a billionaire. He's still free. But this is how, and of course, even for the rest of us, the stakes are even higher because we actually, you know, if we want to maintain any semblance of liberty in this country, we better hope for the right outcome in this election, and that means a victory by Trump. And I like what you had to say. This is Lexington and Concord. You know, let's hope no shots have to be fired. I'm not advocating that. I'm hopeful for a peaceful transition of power here. And, you know, the polls are looking better, but you know, Hillary's like a wounded animal out there right now, facing what she's going to face if she does not win. I mean, they're going to be pulling out all the stops. I can't imagine she's going to just walk away.
What is front and center on your plate? I could ask plenty of questions, but Joseph Farah, the center of WND.com, one of the top news sites in the world. I mean, you know, you're 100 and something on the web. We're 100 and something on the web. I mean, we're exploding. Drudge's exploding. That's got to freak them out. They're not going to let us just continue to operate. They admit they're coming after us.
Well, exactly. And, you know, I mean, taking the internet out of control of our countries, our country, and putting it into some kind of a global new world order may be the first step. We haven't seen any impact of that yet, but, you know, it's there.
Do you remember being on, like, out on a limb 20 years ago talking about global government, UN, gun control? Now they just admit it all. It's like they've just validated everything we ever said.
Absolutely. And, you know, this WikiLeaks thing, Alex, is a treasure trove. We now have so much visibility into the way they think, the way they operate. I mean, can you imagine if we had this 20 years ago? It would make our job so much easier.
We have the blueprint of how these crooks operate.
Absolutely. And, you know, one of the things that, you know, has appeared to me so obvious now is that the way they work with what I call the controlled opposition, the Republican establishment and so forth, when you read between the lines of what Hillary's saying and what the Blumenthal are saying and people like that, in what they think is confidential correspondence, I mean, they have nothing but contempt for these people, but at the same time, they know they were facing no opposition from the Boehners and the McConnells and those people, and they used them so effectively for years.
And the latest Veritas talking bad about black people, they're so hateful. I mean, who in emails and videos talks like this? And then I thought, I'm running my own operation in my own life, and I'm pretty hardworking, 18 hours a day a lot of days. Yesterday, like 16. The control freak of how they manipulate media and newspapers, and Hillary's staff running, you know, dozens of. I mean, you've run major newspapers. That's hard enough. That'll give you a heart attack. How the hell do they have such criminal energy, Joseph?
Well, maybe there's a spiritual angle to it, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they got a powerful force behind them. I don't know. I mean, I'm half joking only. But, you know, what we've seen in terms of the criminality that we're seeing from the Clinton machine, the DNC, all of them, it really is pure evil. I mean,
I totally agree with you because as a media guy, and you're a bigger media guy than I am, managing more things, we know how hard this is. How do they do it where it's like literally they're running the networks, media, they're ordering everything, they're proofreading, they're editing, I'm actually envious of the energy. I am blown away by I don't know anyone with this type of demonic energy.
Well, they do have a couple of advantages, obvious advantages, Alex. When, you know, they're inside government, they have virtually unlimited resources there. And of course, they they need more money. They go to Saudi Arabia and they do their bidding for them. And ultimately, I think that is what this coup is all about. And if you read these WikiLeaks emails like I have, it just confirms that a big part of what Hillary was doing as Secretary of State was allowing the Saudis to basically run the show.
I was about to say, it shocks me. It shocks me. I knew they were powerful, but it's like she represents the Saudis, the Chinese. You don't hear about Merkel. You don't hear about Benjamin Netanyahu. You don't hear about the Canadian Prime Minister. It's all Saudi and Chinese.
Right. And, that's where the money is, and that's who seeks our influence. That we do, we've done their bidding for so long. But when you analyze this Arab Spring and what happened, Arab Spring, what a joke. This chaos in the Middle East that we see today, it seems to be a direct result of Saudi Arabia calling the shots, U.S. military, doing their bidding for them. And the chaos that we see, the carnage that we see, Syria, Libya, they tried Egypt, and this is what you get when you listen to the Saudis and do their bidding, and all you get for it if you're Hillary Clinton is maybe a couple of $100 million in your Clinton Foundation at the end of the
I was
day.
about to say, looking at the thousands of emails where Saudi Arabia is calling the shots in the Arab Spring from North Africa to the Middle East. That's finally what made the military break with them, because Congress wouldn't do it, the people wouldn't do it, and start leaking info about Benghazi and Syria and General Flynn, who I keep bringing up because he was the guy to go out and say Hillary's running al-Qaeda and ISIS. And then you read the emails, it's really true. What type of evil person sides with radical Islam to go into countries and kill hundreds of thousands of Christians like Syria, and then have Obama say, oh, we're going to let equal people out. Then we learn he's not letting Christians out. I mean, that is, why are they so anti-Christian?
Well, because I guess the Christians don't have the money. Listen, I really think at the end of the day, what the Clintons are about is getting their share. Getting their share. It's what they, we saw evidence of this in the 90s, but when they built the Clinton Foundation, they felt they had a way around it, and she used the Secretary of State's office to shake down foreign money left and right.
Joseph
that
Farrow,
could be more clear.
You're absolutely right. That's it. I mean, now we learn the State Department, you name it, they steal the furniture and plates everywhere, not just the White House. That goes to their, I meant to ask Pachenik, as a psychiatrist, what does that say about somebody that if they're at dinner at your house, they'll try to steal something? I mean.
Steal is silver. Absolutely. I mean, by the way, there was a small story recently when she left the State Department, she stole stuff.
Furniture.
Yeah. I mean, they did it in the White House, she did it in the State Department. So, this is almost like an addiction these people have, and a sense of entitlement to everything that the taxpayers have, put in front of them.
Wow. Well, I've been asking some of the questions here. You brought up WikiLeaks. I was questioning Assange. I said, if he's bipartisan later, I'll like him. I wanted to see what he'd do. Of course, I wasn't a fan of Bush, neither with you. But now they've really proven himself to be a hero. And now I know from high-level folks, not just Pachenik, that clearly this came from U.S. intelligence. So I've got to say, we need to see him pardoned at the end of all this.
I hope so. Again, back to this Saudi thing. I just think that it's becoming more evident with every leak, what your previous guest just said, that, the Clintons would do anything for anybody. You ask, well, how would they get to that position? Here's a better question for you. How do you, as a Democratic presidential candidate, then sell to the American people, to this liberal constituency that is apparently still going to vote for Hillary, working with, this corrupt regime, this, they kill gays, women don't have any rights in this country, and yet, the media let them get away with it.
Exactly.
It's unbelievable.
Let me ask you this then, whether Hillary steals it or not. I think Trump's going to win. The evidence shows that, but I want your view on it. Joseph Farrow, WorldNetDaily.com, WD.com. What happens if she steals it and gets in, but then all the WikiLeaks are there and Assange says more is going to come after? She'll have to pardon herself. I mean, is this not a total destruction by them their own hands, a self-immolation of mainstream media and the so-called liberals, because the liberals have always had their problems. There's been a wide spectrum of them, but they've totally turned their back even on what they claim they stand for.
That's right. And, Hillary keeps talking about this thing with the FBI being unprecedented. And what is unprecedented is having a presidential candidate twice being subject of FBI investigations during her campaign. That's what's unprecedented. And the reason it's unprecedented is it's unprecedented that we have a criminal, just an out-and-out criminal running for president. And I am optimistic about this election. And, how can you not be after seeing the turnaround in the polls over the last week or so? I mean, I was pretty morose there for a while looking at this stuff, also hoping that, the polls were wrong, fixed, rigged, whatever you want to say. But, I believe there was, some truth in it. We look at it today, it is completely turned around. It's a very, very close election according to all the polls. I'm seeing a lot of, what I remember back in 1980. I was still around. You were just probably, maybe you weren't even born yet.
No, I was around.
Okay.
No, my dad was taking me to Reagan rallies in Dallas. I was like 5 years old.
If you remember,
6.
what happened there was that the independents started breaking toward Reagan in the last week.
It was only the last week. Reagan was 10 points behind the last week.
Yeah, and, Pat Caddell himself, who was Carter's pollster, said, boy, this race looks a whole lot like 1980.
Well, he said, yeah, 3 days ago, Hillary is collapsing right now.
So, look, I'm hopeful Trump's going to win. I'm even more hopeful that Trump's going to win big. I think that would be very important because our country is in a very fragile state right now, very divided. And, we've got to pull it together. We've got to get back to, the Constitution and the principles of liberty that made this country great. I think Trump might be just the perfect guy to stir that drink right now. And so, we got to hope and pray in the next 5 days that this thing becomes even more clear in terms of a victory for Trump.
I agree. There has to be a landslide because you got Soros with 16 states voting machines. Bev Harris, who's totally bipartisan, she's a liberal. She goes, oh, they're trying to shill it for Hillary. She said, undoubtedly. And then we found this fraction shaving thing that they're doing. I mean, if the Democrats are crazy enough to steal this for Hillary, they're nuts because they're adding, as I said, 9, 12, 14, 15, 20 points more in oversampling for their methodology, claiming there's more Democrats or whatever. They didn't do that before. And still Trump's winning by 6 points, those polls. Wow, that looks like a landslide.
Yeah, but, it may be their last chance to steal it. Because if they do, it may be our last chance to even have any kind of a semblance of a free election.
I agree with you. They always say every election is the biggest ever, but this is hands down undoubtedly the biggest ever of your lifetime.
Oh, yeah, we can look back at 2012 and 2008, and, we had our scary conversations back in those days, too, but at the end of the day, there is simply no comparison. I've got a lot of personal experience with Hillary Clinton. I think I told you, Alex, once before maybe that, I really didn't fear the 8 years of Barack Obama in terms of, personal safety, personal victimization. Yeah, he audited my taxes every year, but there was something much scarier, I have to tell you, for those of us who were, in opposition.
I had men beat me up in a parking lot when I was not even that big 18 years ago saying, shut up about the Clintons. Believe me, no, the Clintons are vindictive.
Yeah, there's a lot of bodies, buried. We didn't see that there were a lot of carnage in the Middle East during Obama's years, but not so much in terms
I'll say this, I bashed Bush, nothing ever happened to me. Mm-hmm. I was a huge detractor because I just try to be, bipartisan about my attacks, but I got to say, even liberals like Jonathan Turley, who are lawyers, say Obama's, far worse, and they're saying Hillary will be far worse than Bush. It's just a nightmare. Joseph Ferry, thank you so much, WND.com. There's so much happening. I know our traffic's exploding, yours exploding. That shows people are really waking up, so that's positive, too.
Yep. You're the best. You're doing a great job, Alex. Let me just tell you that you take a backseat to no one in blazing the trail and helping to inform people in this country of the truth. So I take my hat off to you. you, buddy.
I take my hat off to you. Joseph Farah, WND.com. Thanks for all the work you and Dr. Corsi and the rest of your amazing team do. Thank you, Joseph Farah.
Thank you. God bless.
Thank you. You know, the reason we don't take a back seat is I get upset by all this stuff. I mean, you know, I can't sleep over this stuff. I mean, it's just crazy how evil the Democratic Party leadership is. These people are historically dangerous, historically evil, and they must be stopped. And we're now 5 days out. I mean, it's just the energy is epic. You know, I want to open the phones up now and play a few clips before our next guest joins us. It's 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231. I'd like to hear from military personnel. I'd like to hear from police officers. I'd like to hear from retired intelligence folks. But if other people want to call in, that's fine too. But I'd like to get your view on the state of the world. When you see Donald Trump up there saying we've been taken over by foreign banks and globalists and the Chinese, you've got the former head of Defense Intelligence with him saying, yes, this has happened. And you've got all these other former spy chiefs and people coming out saying we've been overtaken. It's because things have gotten so bad, they have to do it. And Trump, as I told you 2 years ago, months before he got drafted, or 2.5 years ago, about 6-8 months before he went public, he was approached, so were other people, and said, would you do this? And he made the decision not to do it. And then more information came out about Benghazi and other things. He said, okay, I'm going to do it. And they psychologically profiled him, knowing he was a good guy, but also the fact that he's unswayable, doesn't care what you say about him, and has a penchant for America, has a soft spot. He was recruited. And that's why the whole world's attacking him. And only the biggest idiot wouldn't support Trump. I mean, the whole world is attacking him and attacking us because China brags are taking over Hollywood. And I get Pachenik going, Hollywood's finished, so what? I mean, Pachenik's put out some big movies. He's done movies with Harrison Ford. You know, Pachenik owns good-sized companies. Pachenik's a successful guy. He's going public now, showing his face. Because we have to spur other people to show their faces now. We have to go all in at this point. Because here's the deal. Hillary doesn't just want to run stuff so she's in charge. She'd go out of her way to represent child molesters and criminals and bank robbers. And she loved them. She liked them. She likes filth. She's a nasty person. She doesn't like good, strong, honorable people. And there's new Veritas stuff. Man, I've told people this. All I can do is tell the truth. Sometimes my own detriment. You know what? I do it. The only time I ever heard racist talk is around Democrats. And the weirdest thing about it is the black Democrats talk crap about black people. But it's an elitism. Whereas I see somebody not doing well, I feel guilty and bad, want to build them up. And they know we're like that, so they manipulate good people and say, oh, you ought to be guilty, do what we say. But I got to realize, no, I'm actually not guilty. I didn't do this. Stop trying to guilt me when you're the ones in your own memos that want to make people poor. That's the difference. Trump doesn't want to make you poor. Is he a maniac? Who else are you going to get to go up against these people? I'm a maniac. When I'm threatened, I don't run, I attack. And it's not some moral issue either. It's just what I do because that's what I do. And America needs to stop running. America needs to open its eyes and understand what's happening and feel the level of historic energy that's taking place and say no to all this. Now, a few clips I want to play, just backing up that there is a soft coup going on. And we do have William Binney coming up in the next few days, don't we? Former technical director of the NSA. He's on Friday. Pachenik's on Friday again. And we have the British ambassador coming out and saying, look, I was at a major meeting in the United States, and he listed, now they came, folks that did it came up and told me. Now, that's a big secret. It's not a secret that 7 years ago, the Solicitor General of National Security went to Congress, and then the National Archives did too, and said Hillary's doing illegal stuff. And nothing got done. So, of course, this came from Western intelligence. And Uma Abedin, the evidence is now mounting. The thing is, they know they have to parallel, and I'm not defending this, is just the world we're in. They have to parallel construct now the stuff that's already known. Okay? But Hillary isn't just a triple agent to the Chinese. She has totally adopted it and is following their edict and believes that's where she can even run. And then she's on the payroll of the Wahhabiist and has been penetrated, literally and figuratively, by Uma Abedin. And it's unbelievable. And I look at the sniveling, dumb, weak, soft liberals who don't know geopolitics. They couldn't name all 7 continents. They don't know any, and they sit there and look at me and make jokes. Tinfoil hat. Oh, hadn't heard that 50,000 times. Oh, kook. Oh, wow. Wow. Conspiracy theorists. Wow, you're so intellectual. You're so smart. You got 2 or 3 worthless college degrees. All I do is study this stuff. I've had them try to buy me off $10 million a year. You would fall on your face before that, dumbass. And you sit here and look at me and tell me I'm not real when I've been through all this? And I realize I'm nothing special. I'm just a red-blooded American. You, though, are low. See, it's not that I'm good. It's that you are low. You are pathetic, and no wonder you want to keep people down. No wonder you want a system that's based on keeping stuff small, and you don't want competition, and you don't, because you're afraid of it. You don't like it. I've got your modus operandi. And I'm not a person that wants to be dominant or be in charge, but I'll tell you one thing. You're not going to be in charge of me. How about that? I don't want status, but I'll do anything to keep you from running my life. You understand? And I see how pathetic you are and how scared you are and how evil you are. And you're the opposite of liberal. You are the simpering, trendy, fake people who are the biggest losers, abused by your, oh, I've got a 200-square-foot apartment that I pay what 1,000 foot should be. I'm so cool. I got ripped off by some local scumbag landlord globalist. I'm so cool. You're delusional. And it's because your parents broke up when you were a little kid on average. I'm not saying it's bad if that happened. A lot of people are great that happened to, but I'm just giving the MO. And you were brought up by TV. You were brought up in Fantasyland. You were brought up by Nickelodeon and MTV. And you're not a real person. Your brain's a third smaller than it should be. You weren't breastfed. And I just got to realize you're a victim and not be so angry at you. But it's just, I see that little satanic look in your eye, that dull light. And I just think, man, you really want to get run over, don't you? You really want to pick a fight. The Lilliputties against the humans. You really want to go there. Because once the veneer peels back, it's game time. You think we're afraid of you? We're afraid of ourselves. You have no idea what's 1 inch away from you right now. You keep pushing and pushing and pushing. You're going to open up something you don't want to get a hold of. I want to defeat the big, powerful globalist. I don't want to have to run over you people. But I'd like to see you wake up and stop being a damn coward. And I'm not talking to our audience. I want to be clear about that. When I see these lying hit pieces where they quote me, they now quote us, and I just tell the audience they know this. They quote us and say stuff we never even said now. They don't just cobble stuff together. They just whole cloth make up the most bat crazy crap you could imagine. And then I see, like, where it'll be in one day, like 20, 30 newspapers, the exact same article kind of scrambled with people's names. And I Google the writers' names. A lot of times they don't even exist. And I'm like, oh, my God, they announced it 5 years ago. That's a fake robot writing that, where one guy writes it, puts it in, and then it creates all these pen names who don't have to pay the writers. They're even cutting the idiot writers out right now and telling them it's because there's a collapse in the news media. But most of it's because they're just getting rid of you because they got robots and they don't need you. But the little guys that still have the jobs in media, they don't care. They're part of the establishment. They're in fantasy land. They don't even have self-preservation. They don't even care. They're just delusional 1 minute to the next. As long as they tell themselves they're a winner, they think they are, when you're not. And that's why the nanny state tries to keep us in the dark. It's why they try to keep us weak, is because they don't want any rites of passage, anybody to ever be put through real pressure. Because then you're designed to actually grow up and become strong. They just want these fantasy-filled cowards. I'm going to go to your phone calls briefly here. We've got 42 hours. We called the producer, My Patriot Supply, their full catalog, our full catalog of their same food, private labeled, 30 to 40% off, InfoWarsStore.com, 42 hours, and then it's gone. I haven't been able to extend this the last few times we did it. I'm extending it now. InfoWarsStore.com. We're cold toll free. We can answer all your questions. Special diets, you name it. Hundreds of different packages, whether it's a month or 2 years. It's the best out there. And your purchase funds this operation. It's insurance you can eat, you can't lose. InfoWarsStore.com. InfoWarsLife.com. We're launching today, but so much news is happening, I haven't really gone over it. Our new hair and nail and skin formula, 60 capsules. We just went out to the top scientists and said, what is the total game changer? And then massively discounted it. Contains 10,000 mcg of biotin per serving with collagen, protease, folate, and more. It's bio-PCA hair and nail formula. Premium quality. InfoWarsLife.com. InfoWarsStore.com is the umbrella site, 888-253-3139. Okay, I want to go to your calls, but let me play a few of these clips because I mentioned that I would do that. We're mentioning the fact that the hack happened here in the United States, and it wasn't a hack. They used the big NSA spy grid against the very politicians that set it up and had it doing illegal things. And William Benny said this first like 6 months ago on the show here. Then he said it, and now he's basically said, no, it is. Well, the British ambassador, here's a short clip, said, look, I was at a meeting getting a award for free speech and a whistleblower award, and it came out, and I talked to folks that did it. So let's go ahead and play that clip. And we've got Gowdy smacking down MSNBC attempt to distract from Clinton with Russia question. The FBI's come out and said no connections. Let me give you a news flash about Trump. Trump doesn't use email. That's why whenever they play the Veritas clips, and he said during the debate, I saw the clips. I've been told how he gets his news by multiple people on his staff. They come in with clips of what they think is important, and they print out articles from the internet, and then he reads them in paper files. And the only thing he does internet is on his phone. He does Twitter. But he usually doesn't even like the phone. He dictates to a secretary that walks beside him. And I kind of like having a throwback like this, but here's the deal. You look at photos of his office, it's all just papers and files. Trump doesn't use the internet. He doesn't talk to anybody other than in person. He doesn't know anything about Russia. Other than he talks to top generals, is Russia attacking us? And they, no, sir, but threats China and the Muslims. Well, why are we with them then? Well, sir, we've been sold out to them. Well, that's it. I'm not going to. It's real simple. Is Russia doing something to us? No. He said if Russia was to overfly our planes or our ships again and scare, we'll shoot them down. I'm going to tell Putin. Let me tell you, the problem is he will. Iranian patrol boats come around our ships. They're dead, folks. Everybody's going to be like, whoa, there's a difference. You don't mess with us, there's not going to be a problem. And Russia gets that. And they hear, oh, you don't want to have a war with us? You don't want to, you're going to leave us alone? Yeah, I'm going to go back to the deal we had in the 90s that you don't expand, we don't expand on you. Russia's like, wonderful, please. But that's, them pushing this is just the height of BS, ladies and gentlemen. Every person he's got advising him is about China eating our lunch. And Trump is this business guy, cannot stand that. He can't wait to see you with your taxes cut and money flowing in, and he's going to be the hero. He wants to be the hero. That's who we want, a wild man that wants to be the hero and wants to be the guy with all the wealth and everybody's loving him. Not a little creep like Hillary wants you poor under her control. She's a devil, folks. That's what the devil wants. So let's go ahead and, I mentioned the British ambassador. Let's go ahead and play that clip. Craig Murray, here it is.
Do you think WikiLeaks received their emails from the Russian government? Do you think the accusations regarding the Russian government involvement is accurate?
No, this is absolutely untrue. The source of these leaks, these emails, has nothing to do with Russia at all. I discovered what the source was when I attended the Sam Adams Whistleblower Award in Washington, which I was chairing a couple of months ago. And the source of these emails comes from within official circles in Washington, D.C. You should look to Washington and not to Moscow for the source of these emails.
Absolutely, he was there. Okay, let's go to another one. The Hillary takeover. Let's go to Bill Binney, former head of technical NSA, saying the same thing. Here it is. Wow, well, I wish I would have asked the big question, but I'd like you to get back into it and flesh it out for us today, as you've agreed to do, proving for us, explaining to us exactly why you know, as the guy that designed most of it, that indeed they do have all of Hillary's deleted 33,000 emails. William Binney.
It's not really that they've hacked into the server or the DNC server or Hillary's server. They've got over, in the United States, in the Fairview program, they have over 100 taps on the fiber network in the United States. And they're doing just like Mark Klein exposed the one facility, one of the 100, in the San Francisco facility, where they have Neris devices taking everything off the line. So that's what's going on.
So to explain, they put gates in front of it and then copy it and scoop it all up before it ever
Hold on, we got to go to break. Let's hit pause on this. We'll come back and play the rest and go right to your phone calls.
Then Doug Hagman's joining us. I'll continue with your phone calls all through the third hour. And I'm going to go into the fourth hour, too, because Roger Stone's been sued, along with Donald Trump, in 4 states, battleground states, for poll watching. Well, Trump's doing poll watching. He's doing exit polling. We had a guy hundreds of feet yesterday threatened to have the police called on Mr. Schroyer. So they are really freaking out. By the way, we have exclusive translated from English to Russian. Those are Russian agents, I'm joking, because one of our crew members is from Russia and a U.S. Army patriot and a gay person, so you have to qualify that. Daria. Incredible stuff Putin's coming up in the next hour. We have Putin warning European countries have no future if they continue to accept migrants, which is just a fact because they don't accept culture. They're Islamic. You can take folks from Brazil or Mexico, they're Western. They at least are able to assimilate until the leftists get them, but not the case with Islamicists. So we've got that, and we've got a bunch of other clips from Putin just saying amazing things. They're going to be big news stories once we put them out because nobody seems to translate this. That's coming up. We've got just a massive amount of news at Infowars.com. By the way, according to all the big web rating agencies that are out there, Infowars.com is now in the top 200 sites on the web. Now, to give you an idea, that Drudge is like 40 or something, which is just huge. We now are just absolutely gigantic according to the different agencies that are out there. We're putting some of this on screen for folks. I was looking at it earlier. I could see the number. What are we ranked at right there? 202 in the U.S. So that's continuing to drop, though, and I'm not even sure that we have everything set where they can scan our site properly because I know our traffic's much bigger than what they even say. Plus, InfoWars, quite frankly, is a small part of what we do. If you count YouTube and Facebook and everything else, I'd say InfoWars is 20% of our traffic to what we actually get. So InfoWars is super dominant. There's nothing out there that even, it rivals us in mainstream media. They admit that. Only thing bigger is DrudgeReport.com, which shows we're really the mainstream if we're what's dominant. We've now reached that point. So there you go. Not bragging, just fact to let you know you're not alone. You're not the minority. You're not a kook. The mainstream media is there to make you feel alone. Okay, we got Steve and John and Clay and Andrew and Daryl. I want to talk to Daryl in Illinois. He's bringing up delayed election results. That's on InfoWars. Hillary's hired an army of lawyers. So has Trump to fight over the election. But Hillary says there's no fraud unless it's Trump, and then she's suing him, saying he's trying to intimidate voters. No, it's the new Black Panther Party out there with billy clubs again trying to intimidate folks. So, Daryl, go ahead.
God bless you, sir, and your crew.
Thank you, brother. You too.
I just wanted to know what you think about preparing people to know, that or not knowing that night, I should say, because obviously we're going to have to go through some legal channels if she does steal it, and it's going to take some time.
Well, that's what Dr. Pachenik said. That's what Farah said. She's a cornered rat. She's going to go to jail even if she gets elected president. The WikiLeaks, she's politically dead already. It's like Spock, when I had to compare Spock to Hillary, like a hero to her, and a fictitious hero, but still a hero. In the reactor in Wrath of Khan, they say, hey, he's dead already. We can't save him. She's already politically done. Now, the only question is, can she blow the world up before she's done?
Also, I would like to give a shout-out to a video you had over the weekend. Milley did for that small Bill Clinton gathering.
Yeah, Millie Weaver and her team are incredible. She's a great reporter for InfoWars. She's an auxiliary reporter. I'd like to hire her full-time, but she is just amazing. She's all over the place on the East Coast and the Midwest with game-changing interviews every week. Yeah, Bill Clinton's crowd of 200 with somebody screaming rapist at it. She was at the Danny Williams press conference yesterday. She's incredible, isn't she?
Yes. There was a moment, though, when she was talking to an undecided voter, and I think she's run into him before, which I truly think he was undecided. But when she mentioned why do they get money for the big speeches, and he said, well, they're worth it, but why aren't there anybody here when it's free? And the look on his face was just, I think it's one of the moments where you can, when you objectively talk to people, you sometimes can.
No, I agree. That is a true gangster moment that we should, grab and play, because I saw that. You're absolutely right. I forget the name of the video, but it's, Bill Clinton had 200 people at his rally. That's the name of the video. You're absolutely right. We'll be right back in 70 seconds. I've got 4 different Putin clips coming up that are extremely powerful that nobody else is covering in the next segment. Then the Northeast Intelligence Network's going to join us, Mr. Hagman. Right now, a great point from the earlier caller, what he was bringing up. They're going to contest this election. That's now admitted. Story on Infowars.com. Hillary thinks she's going to contest if she loses, but Trump isn't allowed to contest if he loses. That's the double think la-la land, 2-year-old land we're engaged in. Let's go ahead and talk to Clay in Indiana. You're on the air.
Hey, Alex, how you doing?
Good, brother.
I was with you in Cleveland when the communists attacked you. I've been following you guys since I was in 8th grade. I had 2 points I wanted to make. Number one, I had a conversation with some left-wing nut job the other day, and he was trying to explain to me that the Project Veritas videos have been edited and distorted. And the level of mind control these people are under to seriously say that they've been edited.
Oh, that's the talking point. They say it's edited, and then they say he's a criminal. Yeah, basically trespassing in a federal building to show that the phones weren't broken when they said the guy's a hero. But again, they admit that the videos aren't edited. This is what they did.
Well, and the thing about it is he's looking at me, and it literally sounds like it's Don Lemon or Wolf Blitzer speaking to me, not him. I mean, it's literally CNN spewing out of his mouth. He has no original thought. This is the level of the people, though, that we're dealing with on a daily basis. And
they're called delusional. They think if they buy into a lie, they're somehow with the power structure when they're the chumps.
Exactly. And my number 2 point I wanted to make was, okay, so there's going to be 2 responses that are going to happen. Hillary wins. There is no way somebody like me or you are going to sit back and let this happen. I mean, I'm not calling for violence, but we're not going to let it happen. The patriots who have woken up.
No, we're not calling for violence. They say they're coming after us. So if they think WikiLeaks and everything we've done is powerful so far and airplanes in the sky with Bill Clinton's a rapist, get ready, folks. We haven't even begun to flip the switches of escalation. They escalate their threat to us. We escalate right back. Oh, really? You want to escalate? We got a lot more switches than you do. They're going to find out.
That's the beauty of Donald Trump is that it's not the man himself, Donald Trump. It's the movement behind it. And I'm not even voting against Hillary Clinton. It's the Washington corruption in general. She just represents a small.
Look, the Russians are savvy. They know they penetrated Hillary. They know she was selling us out. They don't want to have to spend everything on military. They don't want to have wars. They want prosperity. That's why they understand what's happening. They were under oligarchs. They're not perfect now. We won't be after this. But we're trying to get self-determination. Russia realizes that. That's why Putin has come out and said a vote for Trump is a vote against the elite, because it is. The whole elite is against Trump. If we're against the elite that's been screwing us for 50 years, why wouldn't we be for Trump? This is a real referendum on whether America wants to be free or not.
And my question for you is if Trump wins, I mean, you've said it before, the battle has just begun, but I mean, what do you think Soros and these elites are going to do? I mean,
same thing with Brexit. They're going to try to shut down the economy. The media, the traders are going to keep attacking. We have to bombard their sponsors with boycotts, totally turn them off, and just ruin them because they want to ruin us. So we have to be ready for austerity. Russia's been under austerity for 6-7 years, but Putin has a high approval rate because the Russians understand this is being done. If we want freedom, we have to get ready for austerity, call their bluff. And it's going to hurt the bankers worse than it's going to hurt us, okay? You want austerity? But when they try to burn down our local city, not that the cops are perfect, we're going to have to back them because it's a globalist foreign attack. This is war, brother. So get ready. And
ready.
Yeah, I know you're ready. So believe me, everybody else is ready too. So, look, they've been warned. The gloves are coming off right now, okay? And again, they made a big mistake. They crowed about how they're going to piss on everybody and how they're going to arrest us all. Well, good luck with that. Now, I've got a bunch of Putin clips we're going to play. One of them we're going to do live because Daria speaks fluent Russian. And we've got several others she's already voiced over for us where Putin's saying a vote for Trump is a vote for nationalism against foreign globalists, against elites. Well, that's a fact. Every elite you name is against Trump because America is trying to reestablish itself. I mean, no matter what you think about Trump, he's wrong on a few issues. Compared to Hillary, he's an angel. And then we have another clip here. Putin says controlled media creates false perception to manipulate public opinion. And we have Gowdy smacks down desperate MSNBC attempt to distract from Clinton with Russia question. The FBI has studied this, warrants, they say no connections. Under massive pressure, though, they went after the former head of the Trump campaign, Manafort, today. They sued Roger Stone, who joins us in the next hour, and Donald Trump saying they're trying to block voting in 4 states. They're doing exit polls, totally legal and lawful. We had a Democrat election official come out 200 feet. We were even had cones set out and said, "You're that Donald Trump guy. Well, get out of here. I'm calling the police." It's on video. It's on Infowars.com. Owen Schroyer, yesterday. This is what we're dealing with in America because we know the fraud. Beth Harris is a Democrat. She said Hillary's stealing it. They're shaving it with this new fractal system, this new fraction shaving. We have them. And we're not going to just sit here when they try to steal it. Meanwhile, communist China basically runs Hillary along with Saudi Arabia. The intelligence community has her emails. They're the ones that leaked it. That's all coming out. And you look at the crazy Hollywood and the media and all these liberals trying to play a spy with their goddess, this tottering, doddering, mentally ill person. It's perfect. Archetypally how weak she is, trying to cause some civil war in this country. Problem is $1 billion later, they can't get black folks to go out and kill the cops like they want. So they're in panic mode right now. And it was our guest, Mr. Hagman, Doug Hagman of HagmanReport.com, who 5 years ago said, the word is from the Justice Department, they're going to start a race war. And I was kind of like, really? Now, I respect him, but it came true. He'll be joining us to talk about all of this and his connections in the FBI in just a few minutes. We have a lot of other connections. His are more in the FBI than our connections into the military and places like that. We'll just leave it at that. Now, continuing, looking at all of this, they forced Americans to finally admit how much trouble we're in. They forced the decision. They thought we were cowards. It's the opposite. People know they don't have any hope now but to stand up in the information war. They want to go physical. That's their enchilada. That's their problem. But here it is. Putin warns European countries have no future if they continue to accept migrants where they rape little boys, little girls, and are allowed to because it's, quote, their Muslim culture. So I want to play this clip first that Daria is going to voice live on air into English, and then I have the other clips. So, Daria, you've got the floor. You can set this up if you want and then play it. Go ahead.
No, we can just go ahead and play it. Self-explanatory.
All right, here it is.
A migrant just raped a child in one of the European countries. The court found him not guilty based on 2 things. The migrant didn't speak the language of his host country, and he did not understand that the boy, and it was a boy, didn't want this. It doesn't fit into my head what on earth is going on there. This is the result of a delusion in national values. I can't even explain the rationale behind it. What's the sense? Is it a guilt before the migrants? What's going on? It's not clear. But a society that cannot defend its children today has no tomorrow. It has no future. So relying on their immigration policy experience is not the best thing. We have a 1,000-year history of foreign multicultural society. Understanding of this, for us, is much deeper.
Great job, Daria, doing that live on air with us. We got several others you did, giving us even better translation than the Google translation that was there. Now, the next clip is Putin. Trump represents Americans who are tired of the elites, Russia 24. Then we'll play Putin-controlled media creates false perception. But here's Putin. Trump represents Americans who are tired of the elites. Well, I don't want to badmouth Russia, but Russia was put under globalist control in 1917. It was totally wrecked. And I'm not defending the czars. They were like angels compared to the communists, the Bolsheviks, a bunch of foreigners coming and taking over, oppressing Christians. Russia has the GDP of Italy. Now, Italy's a prosperous nation on average and produces a lot, but still, I mean, you know, Italy's the size of Texas, folks. Russia's 3 times the size of the U.S. 180 million people or whatever it is in Russia. I mean, they can't produce what Italy does because they've been so downtrodden and everything. They're trying to rebuild. The globalists are bullying them because they're seen as weak. That's why even the Pentagon doesn't want to mess with Russia, because it just doesn't make sense. It's China running rampage everywhere. Russia's being targeted because it's seen as weak. Putin has kicked the oligarchs, the very same bankers that run us out, and is trying to resuscitate the country, is funding pro-family operations, Christianity, low taxes. They have lower taxes than us. And that really pisses off the globalists, because Russia was theirs, just like America was theirs. And I'm tired of it. It doesn't mean our politicians are perfect, or our government's perfect, or our local government's perfect, but it's our government. We want to run our own country. We want fair trade deals. We don't want to be sold out. And so Russia completely gets that narrative because they've experienced it. And that's where the kinship is happening. But it's happening all over the world, like the UK, the kinship. They've been under globalist control. Most of their laws made by multinationals. As long as we open the debate up about TPP and globalism, it's over, because it's self-determination. We're going to come back with HagmannReport.com host Doug Hagmann, great guy, always a lot of great intel on what he's getting from his sources and where he sees all this going 5 days out from the election. But I wanted to play those clips because I didn't get to Gowdy and the Republicans saying this Russian thing. I mean, give me a break, folks. They say I'm a Russian agent. That is the most ridiculous horse manure. Russia isn't affecting my freedom. The Democratic Party, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Chinese, the Saudis are, and so I'm lined up to fight them. That's how this works. Doug Hagmann of the HagmannReport.com has really been on target over the years with what's happening. So let me now go to him. He's been sitting there for 15 minutes while I was babbling to give us his intel on what's happening. Does he concur with the info we have that there is a counter coup against the globalist takeover? The latest information. Doug Hagmann, thank you for joining us, sir. Take over.
Alex, thanks for having me. Yeah, basically everything that you've come up with, my source independent of yours has said right now the mood inside justice, well, inside the FBI, not justice, inside the FBI office right now at the Hoover building is extremely tense. You've got the upper echelon of the FBI that's fighting against the rank and file members. The rank and file are just absolutely upset over what's going on. They had gone through with the New York or NYPD task force, according to my source, on the sexting aspect of the sexting investigation of Anthony Weiner. They had gone through the hard assets, including, how can I put this? And this is important to understand. They actually took not just a laptop, but they also took files off of a desktop inside the Weiner's residence, as well as physically took the router at the Weiner residence. And the reason I'm saying this is because there's much more to this than the media knows, or is being told to the media, or is being leaked out, as we've seen. They want to keep some things close to the vest. But yes, the information you're getting right now is being confirmed by my sources. Just to kind of summarize this, there is.
It's okay. We're 5 days out. I mean, as much as you can say, exactly what are they finding? Because they say it's big.
Well, yeah, there's like three different parts to this, three different moving parts to this. You've got the classified, top secret, special access programs. Those files that were on Anthony Weiner's computer without fail, that's been verified by my source. And they said that's the least of the issues. Another aspect of this is the treason espionage part of this. And I know how bad that sounds, Alex, but there's some indication that, and this is why they took the router, is that other downloads of the documents, and I'm talking about the top secret special access program documents that were in the 656,000 emails on Weiner's computer, were offloaded to yet a third party. Well, who's that third party? It could very well be Huma's relations, if you will, or it could be her associates. So you've got that aspect. And then the third, and perhaps the most disgusting aspect of this, is the sexual angle that, and I don't want to be graphic or gross here.
Well, this hasn't broke yet, but I was told, and we haven't talked before the show, I was told it ties into Lolita Express Is that where you're about to go?
Yes. And it involves Hillary Clinton, Huma Abedin, and Bill Clinton as well, with Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, my God.
Now, this has, well, according to my sources, these files exist. They did not touch, my source did not touch, or they has no idea what's in those files. But the fact that they exist on this computer suggests some sort of overlap here. And as much as I hate to even think about this, based on my source, Hillary did, in fact, take part in some of the junkets on the Lolita Express, independent of and with Bill Clinton.
Blackmail.
And this also involved Huma.
Well, that's what I was told by Pachenik. They say it's a major foreign penetration of everything. That's why, despite the fact our government's corrupt, she's got to be taken down. This is total blackmail.
Exactly. And right now they're fighting for their lives, not just for relevance, but for their freedom at this point. But then I think the important thing that we found, that if I can say nothing else, is the fact that you've got a great group of individuals within NYPD, within the New York and D.C. offices of the FBI, and within some of the intelligence agencies working together. And I think
we haven't talked in months, have we? I was told a week ago, and I thought when they were listening, I thought it was weird. I was told NYPD was at the tip of the spear of this thing, and you're now saying it on air while we talk. I was told by high-level sources that NYPD was like an MVP in this.
Yeah, absolutely. Many of the higher-ranking NYPD investigators have been pushing for this, and they've been getting some resistance with the FBI. Of course, you know, traditionally the relationship between the local and federal law enforcement officials, it's never really a great relationship. But in this case, there is a group that bandied together and said, look, we're not going to allow this to just be pushed under the carpet. And they're fighting justice.
That's what I heard. It's so horrible that no one could ignore it.
No, they can't. And this is why, too, and people are looking at and speculating as to why the FBI just posted 4 separate files on Vince Foster. That's not just to give people information about what happened at Fort Marcy Park or with Vince Foster. This is to send a message to Comey and the people that...
Let's talk about it. This is seismic. This is historic. Wow. We'll be back with Mr. Hagman. In the days of Ellis Island, when you came in from Italy or Germany or Japan, it didn't matter. You were kept for a couple months on the island to make sure that you didn't have excommunicable disease. Now, the Border Patrol first told us 3 years ago, it's now national news, they bring people in that have leprosy, TB, HIV, you name it, and don't even give the poor sick people treatment. They just bring them in. It's an instinct to bring the country down, is my point. They don't care. They behave in the criminology spectrum of psychopaths. And our guest, of course, HagmanReport.com, Doug Hagman, great patriot, reporter, accredited law enforcement, private detective, you name it, great researcher, author, is breaking down stuff I hadn't even gotten to yet because it's just now breaking. But he's giving us even more intel, stuff that I got from my sources. He's now saying on air. We didn't talk before the show about Lolita Express, pedophilia. We know about Weiner, all the weirdness he's involved in, texting 15-year-olds. That's nothing, people. And it's a message to Hillary. Stop it. Back off. Quit. She's not quitting. It'll hurt the country, the government, everything of this has to come out. I was told weeks ago, if they make her, they're going to bring it out. So the gloves are off, and Hillary's still steaming straight forward. So as much as you can tell us, Doug Hagman, get into what your law enforcement, NYPD, FBI told you. Some of this has already come out in the press, where this is going, because it's a very dangerous game that's being played. And then Pachenik, who's a major heavy hitter, wasn't just the head of psychological warfare for the State Department. I'll just stop right there. I mean, it ran covert operations for the Army and the CIA. Super heavy hitter. I mean, he says they're going after him now. He's mentioning individuals that are being targeted now. So the war is starting, and all the little trendies don't seem to know what they're involved in here. Slitting America's throats a little bit harder than they thought it would be. Trump's way ahead in the polls. But just getting back to Weiner, why this is being brought up, what's happening with Comey. Is it a double deal? What's happening?
You know, it's interesting because my source, even before I realized what was going on with Dr. Pachinik, had mentioned that there was going to be a high-level intelligence source, a former intelligence source, bringing this out. I had no idea until I saw the videos with Dr. Pachinik, or saw your video, actually.
By the way, he said on air, but also privately, he had to get major authorization to do that.
Right. Well, a couple of things that I think it's very important for people to understand, too, even before getting into the Lolita Express, is the fact that, the FBI agents that were tasked with destroying the laptops, the devices of Cheryl Mills, Heather Samuelson, and others back in July, subsequent to the July 5th news conference by Comey, they did not, contrary to belief and reports, did not destroy that hardware or the data on the hardware. It remains in, this is the information I have now, that hardware that was supposed to be destroyed, that was ordered destroyed, is right now in the hands of a group of FBI agents and is being held at the FBI, and it's ready to be disclosed.
Well, that's confirmed now that the majority of the FBI is now, for the first time in their 90-year history, in rebellion because they see the clear and present danger. I mean, what percentage would you say it is? Is that accurate? And, who's who in this?
Well, it's real simple. The high brass of the FBI, you're talking about the SAC, the special agents in charge, at the different
field offices.
Yeah, or anyone inside the Beltway at a level higher than the department head have pretty much sold out, or at least that's the feeling of the rank and file. Comey's sitting with a stack of resignations on his desk. He's beside himself. There are people who have known. By
the way, you said that 3 months ago. I know, and you were on Coast to Coast. Since then it came out, there's a stack of resignations, just proving your point.
Yeah, and there are people who have known Comey for years who refuse to talk to him today because of his July 5th his press conference.
His wife reportedly is thinking about leaving him.
I'm sure. I mean, believe me, I would not want to be there. I wouldn't want to be in that household. But having said all of that, I'm looking at Comey too, and I, having experience as an operational and informational asset with the Department of Justice and the FBI myself, I mean, I understand that things go very slowly, and there's a whole big bureaucracy there. But I'll tell you this: there are a bunch of great people in the rank and file of the FBI, the agents, the field agents, the people that
really hardworking people.
Exactly. So these are the people who are getting together and saying and working with the NYPD. And by the way, Rudy Giuliani people better be looking at him really close and listening to what he's saying, because he's behind. Well, he's responsible, I would say, for a lot of this information coming from the NYPD segment of this group of patriots that we see forming and pushing back against the sold-out political hacks within the intelligence agencies. So
yeah, I was talking to a top Secret Service agent, former Secret Service, and he said a few months ago, he said, watch what the NYPD does. I didn't know what he was talking about.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too. Of course, there's politicalization within the NYPD as well. However, they're less likely, because they're not as centralized, they're less likely to be overtaken. The task force that was sent out against Weiner, who, by the way, just checked himself in. I didn't hear earlier your program. I was traveling. Weiner just checked himself into a sexual rehab clinic.
I saw that.
Yeah, that's on the advice of his counsel, and
that's just a cover to get him out of the way.
Exactly. Although people can get to him there just as easy, if not easier, than elsewhere. But my sources are.
You're saying that's being done for his own safety right now.
For his own safety, and also as a legal maneuver. You've got Huma versus.
No, but I agree. But some of my other sources said Huma and Weiner, boy, they better be watching out, because Hillary might put the touch on them.
Well, you saw what happened. I mean, in the drop of a dime, you had Hillary Clinton suddenly just push Huma away, refer to Huma as one of her staffers, and I mean that relationship changed on a dime.
So she's gone from being her girlfriend to boom.
Well, exactly. But the backstory there is, Weiner has a lot of the information, and I do believe, and this is based again on the sources, my source, one in particular that I have, that Weiner is in fact, that they're afraid of what he's got, and they're afraid of him being this loose cannon.
Is it true that his file was called insurance?
You know, I asked that question, and I can't get a definitive answer on that. I've seen that rumored, bandied about, and I saw another one that said, you know, XXX or sex or whatever. The file or folder names, no one's saying anything, which kind of leads me to believe that that's not 100% true. However, the information behind it is. And I think that's kind of a way to vet who's saying what to who. And it's a good, I've seen it done in the past, and it's a good way to clear things up. So, or a good way to identify where the leaks are. So,
sure, absolutely. Well, other intel you've got, 10 other points you want to make to the listeners and the viewers out there.
5 days, next 5 days, next 6 days, the most dangerous period in American history in recent memory. That's number one. Number two, we are being set up for a constitutional crisis, regardless of who wins. If Hillary wins, the investigations and potential indictment follow her. If Trump wins, the other side, the Hillary side, including Podesta and everyone around her, are going to question the legitimacy of the elections. So we are facing a constitutional crisis, regardless of who wins. Watch from the date of election until the date of inauguration, another dangerous period, and also potentially giving a reason for Obama to, and this, I never thought this was possible, but to delay the elections, which, yes, this could happen in the case of a false flag war, or if Hillary would win and an indictment passed down, he could say, wait a minute, we're going to delay the elections. And that has a lot to do, and as crazy as it sounds, it has a lot to do with the intent. I'll just leave it at this, with the intent of the globalists. We've talked about this before, that they're still pushing for social, societal chaos.
Well, let's get into it, because you were the first guy ringing the alarm bells more than 5 years ago about a project with Soros, race war. Now, I believed you because you're a credible guy, but now it's all happened. It kind of fell on its face, though, because everybody woke up to it. But they have now, like, tripled the amount of money. Usually it was like $100 million a year they were spending. Now it's like $300 million a month. I mean, they are quadrupling, whatever the number is. They are just going crazy, with hundreds of millions every few months being given. Ford Foundation, Soros, to saying cops are the problem, kill the cops, burn everything down. I mean, clearly that's part of their larger plan.
Yeah, exactly. And that's going to be their plan until it succeeds, or until it's completely exposed. I mean, the objectives don't change. The plans do. The timing does change. So, you know, I stand by what I said 5 years ago, 4 years ago, and 3 years ago. The plans change. The objectives don't. And this is, we're facing such a critical time in history right now.
Sure, they got a handful of cards. They change which ones they're going to play, but it's the same cards. How is it going for Team New World Order? It seems like they're getting their ass kicked.
Yeah, well, that's a great way to put it. I think they are, but I think that in the end, they hold all the cards. You know, it's kind of like playing against the house. The house always wins. We're playing against a dealer within the house, you know, or playing the poker game. You know, there's the house take. The house always wins in the end. You've got war that's possible. War with, well, look at what's going on with Syria, and look in the South China Sea as well. I do believe that there's an issue, and it's very interesting too, Alex. The blame game against Russia is not just because of the emails, but this is also to demonize Russia with the American people because of Syria, which all comes down to not just the gun running and such, but the pipeline between Iran and Qatar. And this is where Huma Abedin, her Saudi connections, come into play as well. So this is like a three-dimensional chess game, and people really have to understand not just any one small part of this, but the entirety of the picture. The
whole bunch of different agendas and a bunch of special interests. And Hillary, who just loves money and steals furniture and everything. You know, she's just a crazy crook who'll do whatever she's told. She's kind of the front person for this whole mental illness. I want to take some phone calls from Martin and Andrew and Matthew and John and Steve and others. Doug Hagman of HagmanReport.com is joining us. I'm Alex Jones with Infowars.com. But I've been asking the questions here. You've had amazing information. What else is on your radar screen? What else do you want to tell people?
Well, I would, pray and prepare, I guess, first and foremost. But again, I would watch the next couple of days, or next several days until the election, and then until the inauguration, different potentialities there. And even if Hillary wins, I'd watch that. But specifically, false flags with respect to domestic violence. We saw some really horrible things, executions against police officers overnight. Watch for more of that. Watch for anything that would give the established. You know what, Alex, I forgot to mention this. I wrote myself a note here. I'm going to just go back to information I had earlier. The files that were on, reportedly on Weiner's laptop include names of some Republicans within the Gang of Eight.
So this is a larger blackmail op. Bring this into an investigation. Because what I was told is Hillary actually activated this to cover Comey's butt, but do a larger threat. And I guess, is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, I mean, you've got Republicans and Democrats or progressives and conservatives alike involved in the sexual component to this, as well as the Clinton Foundation, which is front and center for the money laundering of the sex. So you've got, I mean, again, this is so complex. However,
that's what Pachinik says. It's a major intelligence operation to corrupt people.
Oh, yeah, yeah. But what the NYPD, God bless those men and women, what the NYPD, the task force headed by the NYPD going after Weiner's laptop and the devices there, what they saw, they realized what they had. And by the way, they gave Comey, they gave the FBI 2 weeks to go through this, and it was actually 3 weeks.
That's what I was told. If they don't, it's a press conference. Exactly. So is Comey good or bad or in between, or what's happening with him?
Man, I'll tell you what, I don't know. You've got, it depends on who I talk to at the Bureau. Look, I don't know. I mean, some people say, well, he's a good guy, give him a break. He's under pressure. But to me, I think he really, he's sold out. I believe he's sold out.
Wouldn't he have not gone after Hillary, though, if it wasn't green-lighted by Obama?
Yes. I mean, look, if they wanted to take down Hillary, they could have, with the information that they got back in April, through April to June. They could have taken her down. They could have taken Abedin down. They could have taken others down. Look, the sexting of Weiner, just as an example, according to my NYPD source, this guy's been doing this since 2010. They knew about, the Hillary camp knew about Weiner since 2010, not 11, but 2010.
Sure, so I know you can't go too far, but just how, because who knows we'll be on the air tomorrow. We're 5 days out. The world's crazy. What did NYPD tell you? What's on there? Because what I was told was, and I've seen it hinted by intelligence people, that it's Lolita Express, it's kids.
Well, yes, it's kids. It involves the Saudis. It involves, it involves the Saudis. It involves people from the Middle East. Very big money interest from the Middle East.
Well, we know Clinton was flying out with his top sheik that's a pedophile.
Yeah, yeah, and it involves Hillary, Huma, and to a lesser extent, Weiner was just kind of a prop, if you will, and that's probably a good, an apt description for him. But this is.
Are you saying Weiner? Is it kind of a pimp?
Weiner is. My source told me that Weiner does not have a whole lot of smarts. All right, he might have some street smarts, but he's got this insatiable sex drive.
That's what he's kind of like Bill. That's who she chose. He's a cutout as her front.
Right, yeah, and he gives her cover. I mean, Huma is a Muslim, of course, living with her mother and sister are living with her right now in their New York apartment, according to the information I have, and that's another thing too. The sharing of information between Huma from Weiner's computer through Huma to the mother. Saleh Abedin, who runs the Journal of Muslim Minority Affairs, Muslim Sisterhood and such, as well as the sister. So there's the espionage component there. There's the sexual component with Weiner via getting children for Bill Epstein and even Huma and Hillary.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, I've been interviewing you for like 14 years, Doug. Never heard anything this hardcore. You're always accurate. This is mind-blowing. We're going to go to break, come right back with a few phone calls straight ahead with our guest. HagmannReport.com, Doug Hagmann. Wow, my head is spinning right now. This is an insane time to be alive. You can see how this stuff's working. We're about to go to break, but I want to tell you about Solutions from Science Generator. They got great solar power generators. You know, I've been talking about war with Russia, cyber warfare, and all the new threats to the power grid. Solutions from Science is having a moving warehouse sale right now. There are 3 reasons you should get one of their perfect power solar generator systems. It's the same one I have. the top-of-the-line model. It's expandable, has a wind input, and even produces pure sine wave power, so you can run medical equipment and even military-grade electronics. Go to powergridchaos.com. That's powergridchaos.com. Save 70% off while supplies last. powergridchaos.com. Now, when we come back, we will continue with your phone calls, folks that are patiently holding on election fraud and more. And then I will continue at 8 after. We'll have our guest till about 5 after. I will continue with Roger Stone, who's been sued by the Democratic Party and Hillary Clinton. 2 more segments with Doug Hagman. I'm Alex Jones, your host, and we're going to go to Roger Stone with breaking news and more calls, and then Rob Dew's going to pop in. Trump is a nationalist. He's not perfect. None of us are, but he isn't out to get people. I just go back to that. And that's why they're so scared of him. I wanted to ask you just briefly, I want to go to calls, but Doug Hagman, I want your view. You're a smart guy. I respect your views. I don't just say that. I mean, that's why I have on people that have been proven, you know, they've got their info dialed in. Who is Donald Trump? I mean, why are they so scared of him?
I think they're scared of him because they don't own him. They don't have anything on him, which is why you saw that release of that audio tape from, 10 years ago. They don't have anything. I mean, he's not been a part of the Washington, D.C. mechanism, so they really don't. Although he's been friends with even Hillary Clinton, he's donated to her campaign and such.
He's met her at events. He's been nice.
Right, but he's not been on the inside. He's not been co-opted yet.
No, his corruption is steaks and ice cream. The guy didn't even smoke or drink. I mean, the people I talk to, he's like so conservative, it's crazy.
Right, and so that's why they're afraid. I mean, he's like someone you can't control. He's like a wild card. So, and in fact, it was my understanding from initial reports, they did not think that he was even going to be close to being nominated.
Oh, they thought in the WikiLeaks he'd be a great loser. They misestimated.
Right. So they're afraid as to, because right now we're seeing, and as you pointed out, and you're the great patriot as well, with your show and all of these revelations, they are afraid of the people waking up saying, wait a minute, no more, this is enough. We're tired of the culture of corruption. We're tired of the Clinton culture of corruption, and bang, we're out of here. And this is why they're afraid of Trump, because they're afraid Trump will, in fact, clean house, and because he's got nothing to lose.
Oh, he flips a few switches, our economy explodes. Let's go ahead, and he'll call their bluff, too. Great points. Let's talk to Andrew in Wisconsin, then John in Michigan. Andrew, thanks for holding. You're on the air.
Hi, Alex. I just wanted to know a couple things. With the staggering amount of evidence that's been unveiled on your show in the last 27 hours now, what is being done about fraudulent voting machines, and why isn't Hillary under arrest this very minute?
Sir, I mean, they admit they're putting in these point shavers. They've been caught. They admit all the crimes. WikiLeaks is out there. 1,000 reasons she should be arrested. I agree. It's an epic moment. Mr. Hagman?
No, and call me Doug. No, optics, I think, for one, I think there are some people, even on the good, the people who are trying to expose everything, understand that an arrest at this point could ignite, and I mean ignite, the country. And none of the good people, none of the people that are on our side, so to speak, want to see the country go up in flames. So they want to do this in such a manner that justice is served, but it's done.
But reasonably. If they want to push it, we can't capitulate. We're not the ones starting this, but I mean,
right.
They're crazy. I think they're going to win this. I mean, I think the takeaway is from everybody I've talked to who are serious people, no, we're not giving up, and we've just begun to fight.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, look, Hillary is behind. The first time ever in real career politics has 6 polls up. She's behind in all of them. All these polls oversample Democrats, and she's losing 6, 8, 10 points. We can put it on screen. What do you think's going on, Andrew?
I believe it's being totally rigged, and it's been being rigged from the start. And as she found out, Bev did yesterday, it's been going on for multiple years, dating back many decades. It's a globalist agenda. And I'm sick of looking at it. I want to do something about it, and I'll be damned if she's going to come and win the election fraudulently and take my gun.
Then that's the thing. Even though it's not good for business, they want to dominate. Why do the globalists want to extinguish America? Why are they so obsessed with it, Doug?
Well, it's not just America. It's all national. It's all countries. I mean, it goes back to the Tower of Babel. I mean, it's biblical in its nature, its origins. They just want everybody under one rule, and that's, of course,
they're control freaks. Like you and I don't want to run our neighbors, much less the whole town or city. They want to run it all, which WikiLeaks shows. They're up till 2 a.m. every night running everyone. Just, oh, let me run this. Oh, let me run that. Can you imagine what that's like?
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds like hell on earth. No wonder their kids are all so horrible. We'll be right back in 70 seconds with John and others. Stay with us. Doug Hagman's our guest for 5 more minutes. I want to jam Warrior calls in. Then Roger Stone's joining us. The big breaking news. It's so clear-cut because I'm always honest about who's bad and who's good. I mean, it's all I can do. All I've got is telling the truth. It's a kind of an OCD deal. I mean, even when stuff makes me look bad, I tell the truth about it. Okay, I did this, I did that. Because once you give into lies, you lose who you are. Hillary and who she represents are pure evil. Trump is the real deal. It's why they're so scared. And this is like Newtonian physics. For every action, there's an opposite equal reaction. Trump and the populist movement and you are that reaction. HagmanReport.com. Doug Hagman's our guest. Let's take a few more calls here. John in Michigan, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Mr. Jones, I know you get a lot of new listeners every day, and I would like to just alert them, in case they've got buyer's remorse from putting in an absentee ballot, that at least 8 states allow voters to change or cancel their early absentee ballots, including battlegrounds like Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. A list of all states that I can find are Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, New York, Connecticut, Louisiana, and Hawaii.
Okay, so what are you saying people should do? If they were a Democrat who voted for Hillary, they should cancel and go vote for Trump?
It varies how it works per state. In my state, if I go to the poll and vote, they will throw out my absentee ballot. But every state probably has different rules. I'd like yours.
Well, I'll say this. The biggest problem is the vote shaving. That's why we contest it. We expose it. We do exit polls. That's why they're trying to sue Trump. I appreciate your call, John. Great points. So that we can't do that. That looks pretty guilty, doesn't it, Doug?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And a matter of fact, I was talking with somebody this past weekend. 80% of the mail-in ballots in Maricopa County apparently are already in, which is significantly more than. No,
we've had a record early voting.
Right, but the numbers are not adding up. I guess what I'm trying to say is in Maricopa County, the numbers aren't adding up. There's too many ballots that are coming in, more that went out.
Oh, yeah. In Philadelphia, they're reporting 140, 120% in precincts of the registered voters have voted. Massive fraud.
Exactly. And according to my source, by the way, we are being told that the people inside the good guys are indeed expecting, although Trump to win the popular vote, Hillary to win the electoral vote in some twisted fashion and certainly win. But that's what I've been told to prepare for.
But the good news is all the stuff with the Lolita Express and everything's coming out. So they're going to steal the election. Good luck. We're going to absolutely politically blow you away.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I don't put words in your mouth. From your sources, is that what they're saying?
Yeah, which is why the full court press is on now. And thanks for helping me out with that. Yeah, it's there's this expectation of theft of the election, whether through the electoral vote or whether through some other means like ballot stuffing or whatever, or changing the black box voting. However, this can be changed by just exposing, by what you're doing, what we're doing, exposing everything, laying it all out there.
Not going along with it, not buying it, it'll blow up in their face.
Yep, exactly.
All right, great points. I'll take other calls after you're gone. I want to thank you for the time. Again, HagmanReport.com, Doug Hagman. 60 seconds, other points you'd like to add?
No, the only thing I'd really want to add, Alex, and I don't want to seem like I'm being disingenuous or blowing smoke, but I've got to say I think that, thank you for what you do. I think everyone can see right now, everything you've been talking about the last 20 plus years, it's all coming to a head right now. You're on the right side of history. And as a matter of fact, you own, in my view, this section of history. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you for what you do. Thank you for being the good patriot that you are. Thank you for exposing this, for being as tenacious and tireless as you are.
Well, it brings tears to my eyes because it's God's will and God working through us. I'm nothing, but it is true. I can feel God's spirit so strong every second now, Doug. I mean, this is history. And if we don't make the right decision here, I think there's going to be a world war. That's what everybody can feel is the danger. Is why our spirits are on edge, is because past this line, if we don't do the right thing here, we're gonna lose everything.
Amen, brother.
God bless you. Thank you, Doug Hagman.
God bless, man.
We'll be back with Roger Stone straight ahead. These are the times that try men's souls. The energy level is unprecedented. Roger Stone. He's been sued by the Democratic Party. He's been sued by other activist groups. So is Donald Trump for having exit polls that is a part and parcel of the State Department's own global program to ensure elections are accurate. If it's 5% off, they call the election a fraud. Hillary Clinton was the Secretary of State. We sent Owen Schroyer out to one of the biggest polling places. He's 200 feet away. They even had cones out. And the guy comes out and says, "You're with Donald Trump. There's no such thing as fraud. I'm calling the police. Get out of here." That's coming up at the bottom of the hour. And then we go to the election officials. They say, "Get out of here." I mean, this is unprecedented. And the polls now, even with their sampling 9, 12, 15, 20 points for Hillary, Trump is now 6 points ahead nationally. That's RudgeReport.com. Roger Stone joining us to talk about this and other things that are happening. I've been talking, Roger, to my intelligence sources and others, and they say that it's Lolita Express stuff with Weiner and a router shunting stuff the Saudi Arabians. They say it's so open and shut that Hillary should step down right now. My problem is that might put the whole election into jeopardy. This is a crazy time. What do you want to cover first? Former head of the Trump campaign, Roger Stone.
Well, it is clear, Alex, that the Clinton campaign responds to all of the recent revelations, including the existence of 650,000 emails that Huma Abedin seems to have forwarded to herself to create a database, is to fall back on their canard that Donald Trump and his associates, including yours truly, are in bed with the Russians. An NBC piece yesterday asserting again that Paul Manafort, my ex-partner, former chairman of the Trump campaign, is under investigation for his ties to the Russians, as he told NBC, completely false.
They've got some ledger, as you said 6 months ago, with something scribbled in it. I mean, this is their proof, like something on a bathroom stall. But even the New York Times had to admit, FBI investigation, no Trump connections.
Yeah, I just don't think the American people are buying this. If this was their October surprise, if this was what they were hoping would knock Trump out of the box in the final week, I don't.
No one's buying it. Everyone's laughing at it.
I think that is the case. I mean, my sources tell me that the ramifications of Huma's emails are multiple. Not only is there, I'm told, the strong possibility, and we're on top of this, that they were selling access to some of the documents that were in this database that was created to foreign powers.
Good God.
But additionally, I am told that there may be blackmail material there that was sent to Hillary by Jeffrey Epstein as a sample of what would happen if he were fully prosecuted. There are, however, reports out there that Bill and Hillary and Huma and Anthony Weiner were on Epstein's plane. Based on my research, that is false. That's based on the FAA.
You mean Bill was, but not Bill. Bill was on a bunch.
Bill was, but none of the others. What is interesting is, of course, that whenever Bill was there, his right-hand man, Doug Band, was with him. Perhaps this is why Band is not expendable.
Sure, he also dumped a Secret Service detail. So this is a big deal. What do you make of Steve Pachenik? Obviously a major heavy hitter, not just with the State Department, but in black ops, you name it, overthrowing countries. He says, and he's never showed his face in 25 years, they're making their move right now in a counter coup.
Yeah, I think that there are elements inside the government who aren't going to stand for the Clintons' shenanigans, and it appears to me like Obama is backing off the Clintons. I mean, it really appears to me like they have figured out that she's going down. It is amazing the extent to which this has not yet dawned on some in the mainstream media.
I was going to bring that up next. What do you make of their still childlike arrogance and false bravado?
Listen, she would not be campaigning in Detroit if she were confident. She would not be dumping more money into Colorado if she were confident. They admit things have tightened. Even Nate Silver with the New York Times, who I try to take with a little bit of a grain of salt, points out that for every point that Trump gains nationally, he's gaining in the swing states. Trump has a little swagger in his step. He is increasingly confident as he feels the momentum. I can tell you, having been through 9 presidential campaigns, it's not the numbers that are as important right now as the direction. And the momentum is with Trump in the final week. This is where you'd prefer to be. The worst place to be in American politics is trying to hold a lead, trying to ride out a lead. Because when you're sitting still, you're losing votes.
Well, that's like Carter's top pollster saying, he collapsed last week. He was on Fox 2 days ago saying Hillary is now collapsing. You can see that. You can see her own people exiting her, major papers not endorsing her. They better do the right thing and back off, because I've been told by people that are heavy hitters that, this is not a game, folks. That this is not like talking to some journalist or some other normal person. They say they've got stuff they don't want to bring out because it's so damaging to the whole country. But they're going to do the hydronuclear, thermonuclear hydrogen bomb option. If they try to sneak Hillary in, there's going to be press conferences, stuff coming out that is just total devastation. So if Hillary wants to keep pushing it, I'm told they're loaded double lock buck.
Well, but the other point that is clear is that as they begin to look into the abyss, stare into the abyss at defeat, the chances of them trying to steal this to save themselves increase exponentially.
Sure, their only hope, cornered rats, is to steal it. So looking into your crystal ball, Roger, one of the top crystal balls out there, what do you see?
We have to have a very effective election day operation to monitor for voter fraud.
Which brings into the lawsuit. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, no, look, I have been sued in federal court. Donald Trump and I have been sued along with the Trump campaign in the Republican National Committee, claiming that we are going to use exit polls somehow to intimidate voters, which isn't even logical, because in an exit poll, you don't even address the voters until after they have voted.
Did it and had the Democrats flipping out yesterday.
Yeah, because they don't want to be watched. They absolutely don't want to be watched, because this is where the shenanigans have to take place. And they take place traditionally in those places where you have one-party rule. This idea that this is racially based is just not true.
No, they're doing it in Austin. That's the only Democratic county. They are doing it wall to wall.
And Politico today, a piece by Ben Schreckinger, lumps me with neo-Nazis and white supremacists. I really resent that.
Well, let me just add this as you bring it up. I said there isn't a Jewish mafia running things. They shouldn't say that Trump's saying that when he talks about TPP, but that the Emanuels are mafia. They turn it into headlines. Jews run the world. They're so deceptive.
Yeah, this is. I actually had to complain to an editor at Politico because this crossed a line. Look, I'm a Trump partisan. I'm a conservative. I'm a libertarian-oriented conservative. But to lump me with repugnant, folks like David Duke is really beyond the pale. Just beyond the pale.
I'll tell you why it makes me mad. The same deal. For whatever reason, those are the people that attack me more than anybody and make stuff up about me and send people to my house. I'm not saying Duke did it, but other ones. The damn white supremacists are the most crazy, piranha-like nuts, and I don't get why. I agree. It's like, how dare you lump me in with those people?
So any way you slice it here, you have guilt by association going both ways. If you're not for thermonuclear war with Russia, you must be a Russian agent. And this is the new McCarthyism. If you are for détente, if you're for hard-headed negotiations and some coexistence with the Russians, then you must be working for the Russian government. And if you're against
Hillary, you're a KKK Grand Dragon.
Yeah, so it's like, which is it, guys? It's kind of like Obama saying, there is no voter fraud, it doesn't exist, but we're going to have the UN come in and monitor for voter fraud. The Russians are hacking elections, but the elections can't be hacked. Which is it? They can't even get their storyline straight.
We're 4.5 days out, my friend. I guess 5 days if you count the election day. Clearly Trump, I know you want to be always pessimistic to be safe, but even with these oversamples, he's 6 points ahead. They've got to be panicking right now.
I think that there is real panic. And if you look at their schedules, if you look at the Clinton schedules of where they're going in the final days, that is really telling.
Let's talk about that, because it dovetails with where they're suing you and Trump, these key battlegrounds. Let's talk about that.
Appears to me like Bill is going to Colorado because we shipped out an enormous box of whistles today from a group of activists who want to greet the former president with their official Bill Clinton rape whistles.
Oh, yeah. Did you see Hillary flip out yesterday when somebody did Bill Clinton's a rapist? She went totally crazy?
Yes, we got to find that guy and give him an award. Look, they can dish it, but they can't take it. The Media Matters for America bullies, call me every name in the book, but when you turn the tables on them, they whine like a bunch of children.
They crap their pants.
Yeah, agreed.
Is this not the most epic election ever?
Yeah, because I think we are about to grab our country back from the globalists. This is a sea change. Every other election I've been involved in at the presidential level has been Republicans versus Democrats. This election is the elite of the Republican Party and the Democratic Party versus Donald Trump and the outsiders. I mean, there's a piece by the well-known Gonif John Weaver about why John Kasich's refusal to support the national ticket is somehow heroic. John, look up Rockefeller, Nelson. Your man is doomed. He's finished. He is on the wrong side of history.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. What happens if they do steal it? What happens if we're, next Wednesday and Hillary's won by 3 points and we've got election fraud evidence everywhere? What do we do?
Well, I mean, that's going to be up to one person, Donald J. Trump. But if the evidence exists,
we know he's going to fight.
He's a fighter, but that's why the exit poll we're doing through Stop the Steal is so important. You can't just claim this was stolen without solid, admissible
And they
evidence.
want to block you and claim it's election disruption.
Yeah, look, we're going to publish the results of our exit poll. If it shows no fraud, that's what we will show. Everything will be sworn under oath. This is a democratic exercise, but we are using the exact same methodology that the networks are using.
I also have a Post article saying we're not. Roger Stone isn't smart enough to do an exit poll. The arrogance.
Look, I've been using sophisticated survey research for 30 years in a political career. I actually know more about it than...
No, I know. There's this perpetual arrogance, though, where they act like we can't even wipe our own, whats. I mean...
Well, I didn't go to Yale. I didn't go to Harvard. And, my father was a well digger, so I couldn't possibly know anything. I mean, yeah, it's elitism is what it is. I mean, I saw this piece yesterday by Dana Milbank of the Washington Post calling the idea that Danny Williams is Bill Clinton's son, which I believe he is based on the research I did for my book, Clinton's War on Women, which you can get at Infowars.com, calling it a conspiracy theory. This little elitist turd is perhaps the single most repugnant member of the press corps. I mean, he's wrong about everything, but he has an arrogance about him that is really annoying.
I know, the bigger the loser, the more they worship them and hold them up. It's like a club of ugly ducklings or something. Roger Stone, other points we need to impart to folks. Now just 4.5, 5 days out.
Just, we need the support at Stop the Steal. We need more people. We need, obviously, we need more money. Our training video is about to be released. We do have a concern, of course, now about infiltrators. All we need is one person who volunteers to work at the polls and goes through the training and then goes out there and acts like a jackass. And there, we can be blamed. So we're trying as best as we can to.
But folks have to know that's going to happen. We've already had people dress up in our Hillary for President shirts and scream stuff they should, and then we tracked it back. So the listeners are sophisticated. They understand that, Roger.
Well, remember that we know now, and I predicted it right here months and months ago. Not predicted, but I called it. That
in fairness, you did have a good source. You said they were sending people dressed as Sanders to attack Trump, to demonize Sanders and Trump.
Yeah, exactly. And it turned out, thanks to the WikiLeaks, that this all checks out, and to the terrific work done by James O'Keefe at Veritas.
Have you seen his latest where you got this Democrat hiding black people?
Yes, it's extraordinary. It is everything we suspected and worse. What's amazing is the mainstream media blackout.
Let me ask you this, because I grew up as a Republican, but I mean, the only racism I ever heard was around Democrats, and I thought it was some test to see if I was racist, and they went, no, we really hate Mexicans and black people. I don't understand, like, if you experience this where the racism's always by them, but they're the ones that claim they're fighting it?
We're the ones in the party of Lincoln. They're the ones in the traditional party of the Klan and anti-Catholicism, for that matter. So this is, you know, as I think you pointed out yesterday, everything they have done, they turn around and accuse us of. Everything, whether it is running errands for the clique around Putin in return for huge dollars, or engaging in instigating violence, it's a mirror image. Everything that they have done, they turn around and accuse us of. The chutzpah is just extraordinary.
Well, it's clearly coming to a head, and this is a very dangerous time. The nuclear forces in Russia and the U.S. and China are all on alert. Roger, thanks for joining us 7 days a week. We're back tomorrow. I know you're a busy man. StoneColdTruth.com. Thanks for all the time.
Many thanks.
Well, sued with Trump in 4 states for daring to have exit pollers. And the video's coming up after the break. Rob Dew's going to play it, of Owen Schroyer. Totally polite, following all the rules, and this guy flips out on him. I would have been more rude. I'm very proud of Owen. Owen is the future. People like Owen, just in our crew, just amazing people. Before we go to break and come back, just a few of the sponsors that make this global transmission possible. I want to tell you about Harvest Right. They have these great systems that dehydrate food across the board. Harvest Right created the most amazing home appliance, a home freeze dryer that helps you be prepared. The appliance allows you to freeze dry a bunch of different units, your own food at home. Freeze drying locks in 100% of food nutrients, so even 25 years of food is just as healthy as tasty as the day it was made. You can freeze dry food such as garden produce, proteins, and even whole meals like lasagna and beef stew. It's incredible. Harvest Right sent us some of their freeze-dried food, and I couldn't believe how fresh it was, but I own one anyway, so I believe in it. Visit harvestright.com or 800-594-4635 today. 800-594-4635. Harvestright.com. And finally, we've got Revelations, the Dawn of Global Government film. I'm in it. Of course, it's narrated and hosted by Charlie Daniels and General Boykin, former head of Special Forces and other patriots, and so many others. You need to get this film, show it to people. It's a great tool to wake people up, and you can find it at revelationthemovie.info. Revelation, one word, revelationthemovie.info, to purchase the DVD, and they put everything they've got into it. A retired Army colonel put everything he had into this. Everything, folks. Or you can host it in a local theater in your area. Again, revelationthemovie.info, revelationthemovie.info. Check it out or find out how to host it in a theater near you. And then in closing, we extended it 42 hours because I twisted their arm, and that is on high-quality, storable foods made right here in America, fresh, last 25 years. We're extending that until Friday afternoon, and then it's got to be over contractually. I've really twisted arms. And you can get super high quality, full spectrum, whether it's a month supply, year supply, 2 year supply, special diets, hundreds of different options. InfoWarsStore.com. It's InfoWars Select. It's private labeled. My Patriot Supply, one of the best companies out there, lowest price for the highest quality. Sent in 42 hours, 30 to 40%. InfoWars Select storable food. InfoWarsStore.com. ProPure G2 King Gravity Fed filters, the best unit out there. 30% off. That's about to end. And our new hair, nails, and skin formula. You wonder why pregnant women have that glow. The chemicals that are in this, that are legal and lawful and healthy, are what basically activate that in the body. And so this is something everybody should take advantage of. It's BioPCA hair and nail formula. Leading competitors are $100 a bottle. This one's 20-something bucks. This is amazing. And this is what we do. We bring you the highest quality out there at the lowest prices. BioPCA hair and nail formula, $29.95, should be $100. Again, ladies and gentlemen, because they mark stuff up 7 times. We mark it up 100%, not 700. This is an amazing formula. It's the best out there. You're not going to find better quality for 5 times the cost. InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. And again, you're funding the whole operation. You make it all possible. More bombshell hammer interviews tonight. 7 o'clock Central, InfoWars Nightly News. And tomorrow, Lord willing, Rob Dew coming up with the Owen Schroyer election freakout video and more. But all of you spread the videos, the articles. You're affecting the battle space in a big way. The Republic is rising. We've got a good chance at winning this thing, but we'll see what happens. It's up to you. And, of course, the good Lord above. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Wars.com. This is the Alex Jones Show. It's the 4th hour. This is the second half of the 4th hour. I'll be riding here with you for the last 30 minutes. We are going to play that video that Alex was alluding to of Owen Schroyer talking to an election official, a very angry election official, who was just extremely pissed off of why a young man like Owen Schroyer dressed in a suit would be questioning our election results, and how dare he do that. And I'm going to go to a couple of your calls before we play that video. And then also, we've been trying to get in contact with the Texas governor, trying to get him on record on just a couple specific things that we're asking for to make sure our elections are transparent and that there can be a recount done, and it can be done correctly using the ballot images, as to what Bev Harris was talking about. When you cast a poll, you get a ballot image, which is a picture of that particular ballot, and it has a serial number on it. And that is the problem with a lot of our elections. We have these ballot images either aren't saved or they're not produced by the machines, and our election officials are saying no reason to save them. So I'm going to get into that in a second, guys. We'll go to that in 1 second. I'm just trying to explain what's going on here. But we have instances like that where you have bona fide ways to go back and do a recount of an electronic voting machine, and they're not allowing that to happen. And it's happening all across the country. It's not just in Texas or Louisiana or Arkansas. It's happening all over the country where they use electronic voting machines. There's no way to do a proper recount because they don't save these things. And we had David Knight go and ask Keith Ingram, who's the head of our elections in Texas, try to ask him, hey, why are you telling the precincts that they don't have to keep the ballot images? Just simple question. He didn't even want to talk to us. He did not even want to talk to us. And you can find that interview on the Alex Jones channel or on Infowars.com. But let's go to Matthew in New York. He wants to talk about the polling system and the election 2016. Go ahead, Matthew.
Hey, Rob. Actually, I just launched a new website here about a week ago. It's a completely open-source polling system. And for the past week, we've been calling homes around the country, over 300,000 homes, and publishing the results live to callforamerica.com. And I'm really just calling to let people know that we have now our own open-source polling system, and it's really up to us to decide whether or not the results that we're seeing from everybody else is accurate. There's been a lot of talk about the oversampling that's taken place. We just took a directory of over 108 million white page listings in the United States and are calling every single state. And
is this a computer calling them or a person?
This is a computer calling them.
Okay.
These are robocalls.
Yeah.
So, but there's a lot more than just the excitement about being able to have our own polls, be able to see that we're up approximately 40 points in Florida, for example. But I've loaded up the website with a couple of campaigns such as Americanism, Globalism. Mm-hmm. Anybody can take any message that we want to get out there and literally call millions of homes and leave messages on the answer machines. And, I think this is really a game-changing tool.
Give us the website again. Really give us your website again.
Community.
Give us your website one more time.
Call for America.
Call for America, and is it the number 4 or is it FOR?
Yeah, it's FOR.
Okay.
I'm telling you, this thing is addicting. For the past week, I've just been refreshing my webpage because as the calls are made, everything updates in real time. And the reason why I'm really calling in today is because I've been taking messages that you guys create. For example, you've got the Americanism, not globalism. You've got the Hillary for World War III. And I've been calling homes and playing that message and leaving it in answering machines. But really, it's about the cleverness of the community. Anybody can create a campaign and immediately publish it on the website and start blasting calls. There's a lot of people who really don't think that robocalling has any effect nowadays. But these guys, the reason why they've got these loopholes and they've allowed it to keep running for so long is because it works. These are the people that are voting. And we can get millions and millions and millions. This is a new way of spamming that's entirely legal. And I really, really just want people to know about it because I think it can make a huge, huge difference at callforamerica.com. And I really appreciate everything you guys are doing. But this is the only community that we've got in order to get the word about. This is the only community I built this website for and put over 40.
Hold on a second, Matthew. Go back to Florida, guys. You said 40 points up in Florida. I just saw you guys were about to bring up Florida. Bring that one up again. So it looks like 464 for Trump, 163 for Hillary. And played message, no answer. So when they pick up, they don't always complete the survey. Is that correct? They might pick up and then hang up?
Correct.
Okay.
They pick up and they hang up. I mean, if you're going back to the October 30th, we've been sending out these press releases to all of the press, including you guys, since the 25th. If you go back to the 30th, in Florida alone, we've got 418 people that were participated. 71% voted for Trump, 21% for Hillary. If you look at Colorado, on the same day, 507 people participated out of the 20,000 that we called, 55% for Trump, 38% for Hillary. Mm-hmm. But if you go to Pennsylvania, you go to Virginia, you go anywhere on the East Coast, I'm telling you, it's not looking so good. But with this system, we can actually call every single home. And I don't know what to tell the people, though. I don't know what to tell them. I've had my head in programming for so long that I don't know what messages they need to hear, and I need the InfoWars community, which is the only community that I've ever supported in my entire life, to figure out what the heck are we going to say to these people to make them change their minds.
Well, throw out your website there again. I guess people can just get on and just grab things from themselves and start participating. Is that correct?
Correct. Well, they can go on there and create their own campaign. This thing also connects people to their congressmen. So if they want to call and stop a piece of legislation, they can create a campaign that's going to call 1 million people and prompt them to press 1 to speak with their congressman. It asks them for their zip code and forwards the call to their congressman, records it, puts it on the website. So it's more than just a polling system. It's more than just a message broadcasting system. It's really a soul for trolls, for spammers, and for us, the InfoWars community, for whoever's clever enough to make the right neurolinguistics sentence that's going to get to the American people at callforamerica.com.
All right, Matthew, thanks for calling in. And yeah, go to Call for America, check it out. Check out the polls. That was pretty interesting. Looks like Florida and Colorado, both massive leads for Trump. Let's go to one more call before we play this video. This is Michael in Ohio. Let's talk about George Soros and his connection to our elections. Go ahead, Michael.
Hey, I just wanted to praise you guys, first of all, for one of your tactics. The Bill Clinton rape shirt thing. I actually did it last week in Springfield, Ohio at the Trump rally. And he actually turned around and gave me a thumbs up, stopped in the middle of his speech to do it. And I had a lot of people at work that I showed the video to, and a lot of people asked, why would you do something like that? Why would you do that? And I explained it to him, what was going on, and actually was a door opener to your guys' website. And I've got a lot of people asking more questions like, how long have you known about this? And I was like, for the past 6 months, since I discovered the website, I've been telling people about it. And I think we got a lot more people awake as far as my work goes, because I have people I've never talked to before. They're like, you were that guy in the video that people were sharing around work? And I'm like, yeah, it was actually on the one of the pages in the Wall Street Journal website too. You can see my picture in the back.
I tell you, that's how we're going to make a difference, is waking up one person at a time. People see mainstream media and they might be TV heads all their life and not know about anything else. And they may go to the websites that their friends tell them about on Facebook. And a lot of people aren't really in to politics right now. They see some stuff, but going out and showing them specifics, showing them, wow, hey, look, here's the 4 women at a press conference that have had sexual relations with Bill Clinton while he was married and a president, and one of them he even settled a sexual assault case with. One of them claims he raped him. One of them, we had his girlfriend on who knew him for years and knew he was loose in his ways. And is this the kind of people we want to put back in the White House? One, Bill Clinton, and then his wife, who covers for him constantly. I mean, I hear people say you got to stand by your man, but at some point, if he's a criminal, then don't run for office. Don't run for public office if you want to stand by your man. Go back to your hole like Shelob and don't come back out. Thanks for calling, Michael. And that's one way to do it. You got to get in people's faces and talk to them. That's one way to change public opinion. Now let's go to this video from Owen Schroyer, how he was just asking questions about the elections. We were just doing our own informal poll to find out how people were early voting here in Austin, Texas. And this is what happened.
Owen Schroyer for Infowars.com. I am standing outside of an early voting place. This is actually considered the mega early voting place. They have got extra machines in there, so you don't have to wait in line. And actually, this is the 4th early voting place I've been to, and this is the least amount of people that I've actually seen. So I'm not sure if that's because early voting's been going on so long that everybody's already done it. Maybe it's Halloween, people are staying in, or perhaps it's just a dead location. But this is supposed to be the biggest one. What we're going to do is we're going to do a little exit polling, but mainly what we're going to try to figure out is if people are worried about election fraud or voter fraud, if they're worried about the integrity of this election. We have massive amounts, copious amounts of evidence that can prove election fraud and voter fraud goes on, and the most recent evidence is the Bev Harris fractional magic report that we've covered that came out today that is really groundbreaking and shows in real time how the election results can be manipulated. So with all this proof, with all this evidence, let's go find out, do the American people worry about the integrity of the upcoming election? You just finished up your early voting in Austin, Texas. Who'd you vote for today, sir?
I'm a Democrat.
Straight Democrat ticket?
Democrat.
So Hillary Clinton?
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you a question, sir. Do you trust the electronic voting machines?
Well, I have no other. What alternative do we have?
To accept that they're probably rigged like everything else in this country?
You could have a point there. I mean,
do you trust the integrity of these elections?
We have to. If not, then there's no reason for us to be here.
Are you worried, though, that people might be trying to meddle with them?
Possibly, but I feel like there's enough checks and balances that the right thing, the right outcome will happen.
Independently owned, so that there's not bias by the government. But we need to look into like who it's owned by, and if that independent is there bias within that independent organization.
So what if you saw programs who go and they run the same process that the electronic voting machines do, and then they show how the results can be switched or fixed using decimals and fractions? Would you maybe lose trust then?
Yeah, for sure.
So that's what we've just discovered.
Yeah, that seems like it's a thing that's happening right now.
So don't you think it's important, no matter what side you're on, whether you like Hillary or Donald, that we should all be looking at the electronic voting machines? And if we have doubts in the integrity, perhaps maybe going back to paper ballots?
Absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't mind taking the time.
If that's what we have to do to get our results correct, it's probably worth it, don't you think?
Absolutely, and I think it should be fair for everybody, no matter who you're voting for.
I'm the election deputy in here.
Yes, how you doing? Owen Schroyer from Infowars.com.
Max Fisher. You're probably okay as long as you don't discuss candidates, and particularly by name, which that lady did.
But if we're just doing exit polling, though, as long as I don't say anything?
Electioneering as long as you're out and away.
So they can't say the name either?
They're really not supposed to, because somebody standing here could think they were electioneering.
If I'm saying, if we didn't even bring up any of the candidates and we were just asking,
who did you vote for?
Yeah, no names, and we just said, do you trust the electric voting machines, and that was it, I think that would be okay, though?
Why would you think they didn't trust the machines?
Well, there's a lot of people.
Well, that's why we're out here. Yeah, there's all the reports going on. They just ran tests on the machines.
So you're interested in all kinds of rumors and stuff. Why don't y'all call out to the election office and get permission and then come here if you want?
Hi, Mr. Eagle. Okay. You want to talk to us? Really? You don't want to talk to us at all? People are concerned the election's going to be rigged. I guess they're really going to be concerned when they see you turn your back on us. Yeah. Well, can I talk to him? Will anybody here talk to us? Or do you want to rig this? Why are you cutting off all these audit trails? Why are you cutting down the paper audit trails? Well, there you go. That should tell you something. People concerned about elections being rigged. You've got the director of elections here, the Secretary of State office, that won't talk to us. Takes one look at the press and turns around and walks off.
We really prefer you not run down our system. People don't really trust anything anymore.
I'm just asking a question. It's not my report.
Oh, I know, but when you ask it in a certain way, you actually influence the person.
Well, I hope I would influence them to do some research.
They won't. But you do realize that one of the candidates is the one who's calling into question whether these things work or not, which makes it a political statement.
No, that's not true.
Have you talked with the people who made these things? Have you talked with the people out there who program them? I was on ballot control one time. They call us out there and they make sure that those machines are 100% accurate. We worked.
Well, would you want to do an interview with us then?
No.
For Hart or what company?
I prefer
Diebold or
Smartmatic?
Hart's the one that does these. Their name used to be something different. but it's hard now, hard graphics. And it's the one used in Dallas and Houston and El Paso, I think it is. I'm just saying, it's such a complicated thing to talk about it being fixed is ridiculous.
I'd have to disagree, though.
Keep playing around. Yeah, you disagree.
But I'm not doing anything illegal.
We're not trying to play around. We went to the Capitol office. I've worked on it for 20 years, okay?
But to sit here and say it's absurd, I mean, that's absurd.
You're absurd. Sorry.
You've got dead people voting and illegal people voting.
Move beyond my marker.
All right, we will.
I'll call a constable.
Okay, we're not breaking any laws. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so we just did some exit polling here, and we had to deal with an election official. Actually, we had to deal with him twice. The first time he asked us to move, even though we weren't breaking the law originally, he still had us move. We obliged. We wanted to continue doing our interviews. Then he came and harassed us again, said we weren't outside of the 100 feet, even though it was his marker that we were obeying. He said we had to go even further. And then when we tried to talk to him, he didn't seem to like us very much. He said we were non-existent. InfoWars doesn't exist because he's never heard of it. And apparently, election rigging doesn't exist either because he's never heard of it. He says that it's absurd for me to suggest that election rigging is going on. I mean, what's absurd is to sit here and deny that it's even possible. We've got registered dead voters. We know that they're pushing amnesty unconstitutionally to get people to vote. We know that there are hundreds of thousands of people that are registered to vote in multiple states. And now most recently we have reports about how they actually rig the voting machines. We've got them, folks. We've caught them. I'm just out here asking people what they think. I'm seeing if anybody's engaged, if anybody's awake. And what do we get? We get election officials that come out here and try to intimidate us from asking these questions. And you know what? Here's the thing about this guy. Honestly, I'm making this assumption. My guess is by the way he was talking to us and trying to bash Donald Trump, he probably likes Hillary Clinton. But either way, what this guy's deal is, and you heard it, oh, I've been an election official for 20 years. I've been doing this for decades. I know what I'm doing. So what? So it doesn't matter how long you've been doing it. For whatever reason, you've been doing this for so long and you've ignored this evidence, okay? We have it all now. So it doesn't matter how long you've been an election official. We have the evidence. We don't trust the results. And we're going to keep a close eye on this. And it's not absurd at all. But he has threatened to call the authorities, call the constable, says we're breaking the law, even though we've done nothing of the sort, folks. I've done no electioneering here at all. But he threatened to call the authorities. He's been bothering us. So I'm not surprised. These are the kind of electioneers that, election officials that we deal with in Texas. It's really sad. We're just trying to maintain the integrity of the election, and election officials want to demonize us and get us booted from outside early voting stations.
Okay, that's pretty much the end of it right there. I'm going to tell you when we come back from break what you can do in your state to hold your officials' feet to the fire to make. All right, in our last segment, we covered the election fraud that's going on and how we had Bev Harris just earlier this week prove that it could easily be done at the central locations for these voting machines, and at the state level, at the national level. It can all be done with percentages by using decimal points and fractions. Now, we went yesterday to the governor's office to talk to Greg Abbott, our governor here in Texas, and ask him, is he going to enforce basic election law? And these are the two questions we want to ask him. Guys, go ahead and pull this up on the overhead camera. It is proven that programs exist on voting machines to change voting results. Will Governor Abbott demand all election laws be followed and direct counties to print paper backup results tapes and at the polling locations before the equipment leaves the building for early voting and on election day? So that's two spots where we want it, before the early voting results are counted and on election day. And will Governor Abbott demand counties produce legal ballot images for recounts for the elections this November? A ballot image is a picture of the actual ballot that you take. And so we were given a card by Mac Walker, his press assistant, and called him several times today. He hasn't returned our calls yet. Let's go ahead and show his number. Maybe some other people can get him on the phone and ask these questions. There's his direct number, and there's his cell. He's a government public servant. He's supposed to answer your calls. We called him way after lunchtime and before lunchtime. And let's see if we can maybe get him to answer some of these questions. Will the state of Texas uphold election laws that are on the books? These are laws that are on the books. They exist as election laws here in Texas. Will they uphold them? Will they allow the head of elections here in Texas, Keith Ingram, who's gone around and told precincts and counties that they do not have to keep these ballot images, that they do not have to keep these backup records, so then they could be stolen later on. That's what's going to happen if we don't hold these people's feet to the fire. And then they can put in whoever they want, whenever they want. And that's what it's all about. It's about keeping the establishment in charge. I want to go to our last caller here. I might have time for one more, but this is Stephen in Florida. Wants to talk about what's next after the election. Go ahead, Steve. Make it quick.
Yeah, I just wanted to say there's an Old Testament story about a guy named Jehu, and what he ended up doing, anointed by God, was he ended up bringing the demise of Jezebel. If you guys will research this, I really believe that Hillary's favorite Bible character is Jezebel, the most wicked woman in Scripture and one of the most wicked in history. I believe she's modeled herself after this woman. She was the real power behind Ahab's throne, just like Hillary's been with Bill. And she had an egotistical aspiration to be in charge. But the thing is, God pronounced judgment on her because of what she did, shedding innocent blood. And I believe that way back when Hillary had that case where she defended a rapist against this girl that Alex interviewed yesterday, Kathy Shelton, she crossed the line way back then. And in Revelation, it talks about this woman that sits on the beast of world government, and God puts it in their hearts to destroy her because it's his judgment on her. I think Hillary...
I agree with you, Stephen, and she's never gone back from that point. She's always stayed close to home, being an evil, manipulative person that she's always been. So, Alex, you want to jump in here at the last word?
No, I just want to interrupt people like I always do. I can't believe Obama claims that Hillary's for feminists when she's connected to Bill Clinton, the pedophile, and the Lolita Express, and the Islamists abusing women. We're going to do a Facebook mentions when this ends on this in a few minutes, Rob, you and I. So Infowars.com for the latest nightly news tonight, 7 o'clock Central. We are now 5 days out, folks.
That's right. So you better get your heads on screwed on straight and start spreading that information. Keep your cell phone cameras armed and ready to go, because you never know when you're going to see fraud in your area, and report it. Report it to us. Report it to the police. Report it to everyone, because election fraud is going off. Voter fraud at Infowars.com is where you can go, or tips at Infowars.com. Vote at Infowars.com. That's the email address to send it all out. Thanks.